What's up, chat? We got a little situation. I'm high as shit. I smoked a little bit before the stream because I was eating food, so I was like, why not? But we're still gonna do the react anyways. Yeah, but I am a little mildly intoxicated. But it should be fine. Fire song, by the way. Us against the globe. Don't let your attitude we got. Alright. We got some fun videos today. I don't know how, I forgot how many. I think I got 5? 6 videos. They all seem pretty interesting. I think we'll have some fun today. Let me turn this off. Oh, also, I thought of this after last React stream. I thought I would add this onto my stream deck. I can do this now. So that I don't have to keep, like, tracking it like I was in the last video. I was editing some of the videos that I've been posting, of the React videos, and I was watching it back. And the whole thing that I was doing with the face cam, where I would, like, drag it like this, it wasn't working out. I was trying to edit that, and I was like, fuck, this sucks. So I added it to my stream deck. So now we don't have to deal with that anymore. I can just switch back and forth easier. But yeah, let's get started. We got, let me read off the videos we have. We have, the youngest serial killers in history. I exposed the most corrupt churches in America. This guy's awesome. Tyler Oliveira, I think is how you say it. I don't know. Weirdest phobias. Hours on YouTube Kids, or horrors on YouTube Kids. Hours. Fuck me. The craziest philosophical theories explained in 14 minutes. And 6 disturbing unsolved cases with video footage. I don't know anything about these cases. We're gonna try and solve them together because I think that I don't know. I think that'd be fun. The youngest serial killers in history. That's the video we're gonna start with. But yeah, also, so a few things about PC. So the last stream, it was 2 days ago. I didn't stream yesterday. But 2 days ago, I did a whole Red Dead stream. It was 3 hours long. I'm working on posting that. But the PC did shut off. I've been having problems with the PC, and it keeps shutting off occasionally. And the PC did shut off, but it shut off 3 hours in, which tells me that it's definitely a cooling issue. So I'm just gonna buy a new cooling system and put it in the PC, and I think it should be fine. So that problem will be fixed very soon. So that I can still stream. Because holy fuck, it was a problem for a minute there. Like, there was a few streams where I had to keep going live like 4 times because the PC kept shutting off. Oh, it was terrible. But PC is going to be fixed soon. But we can get started. First video, the world's youngest serial killers. This one's going to be insane. It's 20 minutes long.
Content warning. This video discusses serious crimes involving minors. Viewer discretion advised. Amarjeet Sada, age 7 to 8. In 2007...
Oh my god, we're starting off strong! 7 years old?
A village in Bihar, India, was shaken by a discovery that would make global headlines. 8-year-old Amarjeet Sada was arrested by police for the murder of 3 infants. He became known as the world's youngest serial killer, a title that still haunts criminal psychology to this day. Amarjeet Sada was born in 19...
Wait, it wasn't an accident? Oh my god, serial killers. They were actually like deliberate Oh, this might be bad.
1998 in the village of Mushahar, one of Bihar's most impoverished areas. His parents were daily laborers who struggled to feed their large family. Poverty was extreme. Opportunities were non-existent. Life was a daily fight for survival. In 2006, when Amarjeet was just 7 years old, his aunt came to visit, leaving her infant daughter in the family's care while she went to work in the city. While Amarjeet's mother went to the market, she left young Amarjeet to watch his baby cousin and his younger sister. What happened next was unthinkable. According to reports, Amarjeet harmed the baby, eventually...
What the fuck? Dude, how is like an 8-year-old this violent? Dude, when I was 8, I was hiding in like Target clothing racks. Punching babies? Are we fucking serious?
Causing her death. He concealed the body in tall
Oh my god, he hid the fucking body. We got an 8-year-old Dexter. What's going on?
grass near the home. When his aunt returned and discovered what happened, the family was devastated. But here's where the story takes an even darker turn. They didn't report it to authorities. In their community, such matters brought shame and could lead...
Beating a infant child to death and hiding the body would cause shame. Who would have came across that little gem? Who thought of that? Who thought of that? No fucking shit. He murdered a baby. Yo, what do you mean? Shame?
Social and economic ruin. The death was covered up, attributed to illness or accident.
What?
Months later, Amarjeet's own infant sister died under similar circumstances while the family slept. Again, there were suspicions, but the family remained silent. Some members reportedly knew or suspected what Amarjeet had done, but these were considered family matters. The
family matters. Okay.
cycle of silence continued. It wasn't until 2007 that the outside world learned the truth. A 6-month-old baby named Khushbu.
What is this kid's obsession with babies? What is this kid's obsession?
Disappeared from a local primary school. The community searched frantically. When police investigated, witnesses reported seeing young Amarjeet near the school that day. Under questioning, the 8-year-old confessed, not just to Khushbu's death, but to the earlier incidents involving his cousin and sister. Psychologists who evaluated Amarjeet described him as showing no understanding of right and wrong. One called him someone who derived satisfaction from causing harm. Others noted he appeared to lack empathy entirely. The International Journal of Indian Psychology published analysis suggesting severe neglect and possible mental illness, though some reports also claimed potential abuse in the home. Indian law presented a unique challenge. Children cannot be sentenced to death or sent to adult prison in India. Amarjeet was placed in a juvenile home until age 18. In 2016, when he turned 18, he was released. His current whereabouts are
Were the 3 bodies not enough of a hint to keep him in prison? Oh, right. No, he's a kid. He murdered 3 babies. Are we fucking... Why is he out? That makes no sense at all. They let him free? What do you...
No. He was given a new identity and released back into society. The terrifying reality is that no one knows where Amarjeet Sada is today.
Right. Of course. Of course. Who would have thought the kid would go missing? Who would have guessed? Jesus
He's
Christ.
in his mid-20s now, living somewhere under a new name. Whether he was rehabilitated during his 10 years in the facility remains unclear. His case raised urgent questions about how to handle children who commit violent acts and whether an 8-year-old can truly be reformed. Jesse Pomeroy, age 12 to 14.
That's fucking insane. Like, how does an 8-year-old want to do that? And they said that they didn't have, like, a specific psychological read on the kid. Like, they didn't know if he did it because he enjoyed it or if he actually just didn't know the difference between right and wrong. Those were the 2 that were, like, decided. What the fuck? 8 years old. Like, I don't know.
December 1874. A Boston courtroom fell silent as a 14-year-old boy stood before the judge. Jesse Pomeroy had just been convicted of murder, becoming the youngest person in Massachusetts history to face a first-degree murder charge. The courtroom was packed. Reporters filled every seat. The entire nation was watching. Because this case forced America to confront an uncomfortable question. Can a child be evil? Jesse Pomeroy was born in 1859 in Charlestown, Massachusetts. From birth, he was different. A medical condition left his right eye covered with a white film, giving him an unsettling appearance. Other children
It's a little fucked up.
Mocked him relentlessly. His father, a butcher, was harsh and distant. School became a nightmare of isolation. By age 12, something had changed in Jesse. Between 1871 and 1872, young boys in the Chelsea and South Boston areas began reporting attacks by an older boy. They described being lured to isolated locations with promises of money or adventure. Once alone, they were restrained and harmed. The attacks escalated in severity. 7 different boys came forward with similar stories.
7?
What disturbed investigators was the pattern. Each attack showed calculation and planning. This wasn't impulsive childhood aggression. It was something else entirely. Police eventually identified 12-year-old Jesse Pomeroy as the attacker. He confessed readily, showing little emotion. The court sentenced him to a reform school until he turned 18.
All right, this one kind of seems like a parenting issue, if I'm being honest. Like, his dad was a dick to him, and then he just, yeah, no, he's lashing out like his dad was a dick. I don't know, that's a parenting issue. There was an ad, hold on. Okay.
Story was over, but Jesse's mother believed her son deserved a second chance. She lobbied for his early release.
Fucking dead ass.
And in February 1874, after serving just 17 months, Jesse was freed. 6 weeks later, 2 children went missing. In March,
Right.
10-year-old Katie Curran vanished after visiting the Pomeroy family's shop. In April, another young child was found deceased. The violence was extreme. Investigators immediately suspected Jesse. When police searched the Pomeroy shop months later, they found Katie Curran's body hidden in the basement. Jesse was arrested and confessed to both deaths.
Okay, dude. So, in the first case that we just listened to, he was convicted for 3 counts of murder and then released. This kid assaults 7, gets released, and then murders 2 more. Why are we releasing dangerous people? Like, these people are very obviously not well, and we're just releasing them for no fucking reason. I don't understand. This makes no sense. This makes no sense.
He was 14 years old. The trial became a national sensation. Experts debated whether a child could truly understand the consequences of taking a life. Jesse's lawyers argued he suffered from what was then called moral insanity, an irresistible compulsion he couldn't control. The prosecution painted him as,
God, at 14?
fully aware and calculating. The jury found him guilty. The judge sentenced him to death. At 14, Jesse Pomeroy was the youngest person in Massachusetts to receive a death sentence, but he would never be executed. The governor commuted his sentence to life in prison, where Jesse would spend 41 years in solitary confinement, one of the longest periods anyone has spent in isolation. Jesse Pomeroy died in prison in 1932 at age 72. He'd served 58 years.
He went to prison at 14 and died in prison. Holy fuck.
Years behind bars. Even in his final years, he maintained that something had compelled him to commit his crimes, some force he couldn't name or understand. Modern psychologists who've studied his case believe he may have suffered from conduct disorder or early-onset psychopathy, combined with the trauma of severe bullying and possible abuse. Mary Bell, age 10 to 11, May 25, 1968, Newcastle upon Tyne, England. A 4-year-old boy named Martin Brown was found
I thought the serial killer was 4.
Deceased in an abandoned house. The initial investigation suggested a tragic accident. There were no obvious signs of foul play. The case might have closed there, if not for what happened next. The day after Martin's discovery, someone broke into a nearby nursery school and vandalized it. Among the destruction, police found notes scrawled in crayon. One read,
Imagine going to school to be a police officer and then getting called into a daycare to see a message wrote in crayon. I would never take my job seriously again.
Investigators dismissed it as a sick joke. Children playing pranks. But it wasn't a prank. Mary Bell was born in 1957 to a 16-year-old mother who worked in difficult circumstances. From the beginning, Mary...
See, it's a parenting issue. 2 of these cases, like, the parents were awful.
Mary's life was marked by severe neglect and concerning treatment. Her mother was frequently absent, leaving Mary in dangerous situations. There were reports of harm that no child should ever endure. By age 10, Mary had become withdrawn, manipulative, and prone to violent outbursts. On May 25th, the day before her 11th birthday, Mary...
What do you want for your birthday, honey? Oh, murder charge.
Mary caused Martin Brown's death in that abandoned... house.
What the fuck?
She was so small herself that investigators couldn't initially determine what had happened. It appeared to be an accident or sudden illness. 2 months later, on July 31st, 3-year-old Brian Howe disappeared while playing outside his home. His body was found that evening. This time, the evidence was clear. Someone had harmed him deliberately. Police began interviewing local children.
Did the kid leave a marking on the tree? No way.
2 girls kept appearing in the investigation, Mary Bell and her friend Norma Bell, who despite sharing a last name, were not related. Both girls acted strangely during questioning. Norma seemed excited about the investigation. Mary was evasive and showed odd emotional responses. Eventually, Norma told police that Mary had confessed to her about Brian. When confronted, Mary denied everything, but the evidence was building. In December 1968, both girls stood trial. Mary Bell was 11 years old. The courtroom struggled with how to handle a child defendant accused of such serious crimes.
She was fucking 11? Holy shit. Imagine becoming a judge and then running a case with an 11-year-old murderer.
The prosecution had to prove that Mary understood the
Holy
wrongfulness
shit.
of her actions. The defense argued she was too young to form criminal intent and had suffered such severe mistreatment that her mental state was compromised. After deliberation, the jury found Mary guilty of manslaughter due to diminished responsibility, not murder. Norma was acquitted. Mary was sentenced to be detained at Her Majesty's pleasure, essentially an indefinite sentence. She was sent to a secure facility for young offenders. Mary served 12 years before being released at age 23. She was given a new identity and lifelong anonymity to allow her a chance at rehabilitation. That anonymity has been extended to protect her daughter and granddaughter. What makes Mary's case particularly significant is what it revealed about childhood trauma. Gita Sarani, a journalist who extensively studied the case, found that Mary had been subjected to horrific mistreatment throughout her childhood. She wasn't born violent. She was shaped by circumstances no child should face. Mary Bell's case forced Britain to examine how it treats both child offenders and child victims of mistreatment. Today, Mary Bell lives anonymously somewhere in Britain. According to those who've spoken with her, she doesn't claim to be wrongly convicted and acknowledges that her traumatic childhood doesn't excuse her actions. Robert Thompson and John Venables, age 10, February 12, 1993.
ChatGPT.
Fuck you, YouTube. Oh, it's muted.
10. February 12th, 1993. Bootle, England.
Oh, 2
2-year-old
people.
James Bulger was shopping with his mother at the New Strand shopping center when he disappeared. Security cameras captured haunting footage, 2 older boys leading the toddler away by the hand. The boys were Robert Thompson and John Venables. They were both 10 years old.
What possesses a 10-year-old to murder a little boy? I don't understand.
Was one of the most shocking crimes in British history.
Hey, I'm seeing a lot of Britain here, okay? I think all of my hate towards British people is justified. This is crazy.
Boys led James on a 2.5-mile walk through Liverpool. Dozens of people saw them. Some even asked if the toddler was okay. The boys told them he was their brother, or that they were taking him to the police station. No one intervened. They eventually brought James to a railway line in Walton. There, away from witnesses, they attacked him. The violence was extreme and prolonged. They left his body on the tracks. 2 days later, James's remains were discovered. The nation was horrified. Police reviewed CCTV footage and released images of the 2 boys. Anonymous
Oh my god. Oh, why would you show me the pictures, you dick?
tips led them to Robert Thompson and John Venables, both of whom had been absent from school that day. During questioning, both boys initially denied involvement. Eventually, under pressure and with evidence mounting, they began admitting to parts of what happened, though each blamed the other for the worst of it. The backgrounds of both boys revealed troubled homes. Robert Thompson came from a family where violence was common. He'd witnessed and experienced
It's always a fucking parenting issue. It's always a parenting issue.
severe mistreatment from a young age. John Venables also had a difficult upbringing, though different in nature. Both boys had shown behavioral problems at school. In November 1993, Thompson and Venables stood trial. Because of the severity of the crime, they were tried in an adult court, though accommodations were made for their age. The trial was extraordinarily difficult. The judge, jury, and public struggled with the reality that 10-year-old children had committed such an act. Both were found guilty and sentenced to detention at Her Majesty's pleasure. The judge called it an act of unparalleled evil and barbarity. But determining how long they should serve proved controversial. The original recommendation was 8 years, later increased to 10.
8 years. They literally beat a child to death and deliberately put it on a train track. 8 years? I don't
Which
know.
meant they'd be released as teenagers. Public outrage was intense. James Bulger's family was devastated, feeling that justice hadn't been served. But in 2001, when both boys reached age 18, they were released with new identities and lifelong anonymity orders to protect them from vigilante violence. Since then, their paths have diverged. Robert Thompson has reportedly not reoffended and has lived quietly under his new identity. John Venables, however, has been recalled to prison twice, both times for offenses related to inappropriate images of children. His repeated offenses have reignited debates about whether he should have been released in the first place. The James Bulger case remains one of the most analyzed and debated cases in British legal history. It raised...
I bet the one who got reconvicted after getting released was probably like his idea, and then his friend just like tagged along. Because he was also like in pain and he wanted other people to hurt. So he probably just followed along with whatever the other kid said.
Fundamental questions. At what age can someone be held fully responsible? Can children who commit such acts be rehabilitated? And how do we balance punishment with the understanding that children's brains are still developing? Craig Price, age 13 to 15, September 5th, 1989, Warwick, Rhode Island. Police responded to a disturbing scene at a family home. Inside, they found 3 victims. The
Wow.
violence was extreme and shocking. The community was terrified. A dangerous killer was on the loose. What police didn't initially realize was that the killer lived just a few houses away, and he was 15 years old. Craig
Jesus.
Price was born in 1973 and grew up in the Buttonwoods neighborhood of Warwick. To his neighbors, he seemed like a normal kid, athletic, involved in sports, generally friendly. He was known as Iron Man because of his size and strength. His teachers described him as bright, but beneath that normal exterior, something was deeply wrong. On July 27, 1987, when Craig was just 13 years old, he committed his first act of violence. His victim was Rebecca Spencer, a 27-year-old mother who lived 2 houses away from the Price family. Craig broke into her home and attacked her. The crime was brutal and appeared motiveless. Police had no suspects. The case went cold. For 2 years, nothing happened. Craig went to school, played sports, and lived what appeared to be a normal teenage life.
Do none of these kids have any motive for doing the murders? Like, they're all just doing them. It's so weird. Like, none of them have any motive for doing it except for like shitty parenting and bullying and shit like that. But none of them they're not specific victims for any of these kids.
A normal teenage life. Then, on September 1st, 1989, he struck again. This time, his victims were the Heaton family, Joan and her 2 young
Dude,
daughters.
he's killing whole families. He killed 6 people?
Later admitted he was under the influence of substances when he broke into their home that night. The breakthrough came 4 days later. Police noticed that Craig had an injury on his hand, which he claimed was from an unrelated accident. A search of his home revealed concerning evidence. Under questioning, Craig confessed, not just to the Heaton family attacks, but to Rebecca Spencer's death 2 years earlier. His confession was chilling in its lack of remorse. When asked why he did it, he couldn't provide a clear answer. Craig Price was arrested just weeks before his 16th birthday. This presented a massive legal problem. Under Rhode Island law at the time, juveniles could not be tried as adults, regardless of how serious their crimes were. This meant Craig could only be held until age 21. Despite killing 4 people, he would serve a maximum of 6 years. The community was outraged. How could someone who'd committed such violent acts be released after just a few years? Citizens formed groups to lobby for legal changes. The case attracted national attention. Even President Bill Clinton weighed in, advocating for reforms to juvenile justice laws. Rhode Island passed new legislation allowing juveniles to be tried as adults for serious crimes. But these changes couldn't be applied retroactively to Craig Price. He'd beaten the system, or so it seemed. While incarcerated, Craig's behavior ensured he wouldn't be released at 21. He repeatedly got into fights, assaulted corrections officers, and violated institutional rules. Each infraction resulted in additional charges and extended sentences. In 2004, he was transferred to Florida's prison system, where he continued his pattern of violence. In 2017, Craig Price was charged with attacking another inmate. He pleaded guilty and received an additional 25-year sentence. Now in his early 50s, Craig Price remains behind bars and likely will for the rest of his life. Psychologists who've studied Craig's case point to several factors. He experienced significant challenges growing up. He witnessed violence at home. He had untreated behavioral issues from a young age. But experts also note that many children face similar circumstances without becoming violent. What made Craig different remains a subject of study. His case transformed how America handles violent juvenile offenders. It proved that age alone doesn't determine someone's capacity for extreme violence. And it highlighted the need for early intervention when children show warning signs of severe behavioral problems. Jasmine Richardson, age 12, April 23, 2006, Medicine Hat, Alberta, Canada. Police responded to a disturbing call about bodies discovered in a residential home. When they arrived, they found 3 victims: Mark Richardson, his wife Deborah, and their 8-year-old son Jacob. The violence was shocking, but what made this case even more disturbing was who was missing: the family's 12-year-old daughter Jasmine. At first,
A 12-year-old. Oh my gosh. I thought the girl who did the murders also kidnapped a kid. No, the 12-year-old was the one who did it. So she killed her whole fucking family at 12? The pot roast can't be that bad.
police feared Jasmine had been taken or harmed as well. But as they investigated, a different picture emerged. In Jasmine's school locker, they found a drawing, stick figures of a family inside a burning house, and a girl running to a truck. Evidence on her computer revealed dark conversations with an older man named Jeremy Steinke.
Did he get her to do that? No way.
Within 24 hours, police located Jasmine and Jeremy in Saskatchewan. They were arrested together. Under interrogation, the truth came out. Jasmine and Jeremy had planned and executed the attack together. Jasmine Richardson had been a typical preteen until about age 11, when she became interested in goth subculture. She dressed in black, wore heavy makeup, and spent hours online in forums dedicated to dark themes. Her parents, Mark and Deborah, initially thought it was just a phase. But when the 12-year-old began a relationship with 23-year-old Jeremy Steinke, they became alarmed. Jeremy claimed to be a 300-year-old werewolf. He wore
What the fuck?
a vial of what he said was blood around his neck. He was immersed in fantasy and had his own troubled background, including an unstable childhood and possible developmental issues. When Jasmine's parents discovered messages between their daughter and Jeremy discussing violent themes, they forbade her from seeing him. They took away her computer. They grounded her. But Jasmine found ways to communicate with Jeremy anyway, and her resentment toward her parents grew. In online conversations, Jasmine began expressing a desire to be free of her parents. Jeremy encouraged these thoughts. Together, they began discussing a plan. On April 22nd, the night before the attacks, they watched the movie Natural Born Killers, about a couple who go on a violent spree after the boyfriend eliminates the girlfriend's parents. The next night, Jeremy entered the Richardson home through a basement window. Witnesses later testified that Jeremy was responsible for the attacks on Jasmine's parents, while Jasmine was in her brother's room. The details of what happened to 8-year-old Jacob remain disputed, with each defendant blaming the other. After fleeing the scene, Jasmine and Jeremy were found the next day. Both were charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder. The trial raised complex questions. Jasmine was 12 years old when the crimes occurred, making her the youngest person in Canadian history to be convicted of multiple counts of murder. Could someone so young truly understand the permanence and horror of what she'd done? Was she manipulated by an older partner, or was she an active participant? The court found Jasmine guilty on all 3 counts. Because of her age, she received the maximum sentence allowed under Canada's Youth Criminal Justice Act, 10 years, with 4 years in a psychiatric facility followed by community supervision. Jeremy
I love Canada so much.
Steinke was convicted as an adult and received 3 life sentences. In 2016, after
low-key, fuck that guy. I don't... He can die in prison. That's okay.
pleading her 10-year sentence, Jasmine Richardson was released. She's now in her early 30s, living under a new identity somewhere in Canada. Canadian law protects her privacy, and her records were sealed after she served her time without reoffending. Her release was controversial. James's family believed she deserved a longer sentence. Others pointed to her young age at the time of the crimes and argued that rehabilitation should be possible for children. Jasmine Richardson's case illustrates the complexity of juvenile justice. She was a child influenced by an adult, immersed in dark online subcultures, and struggling with her own mental health.
Did she
But she
do
was
anything?
also convicted of participating in the deaths of her family. Where does accountability begin?
Did she
And
do
can
anything after she was released?
someone who committed such acts at age 12 truly be reformed? If you'd like to see more
Oh,
stories...
she didn't. Okay, fuck yeah. I feel bad for her. I mean, that's fucking insane. That all of those cases, like, that was the only one that really had motive. Like, she wanted to actually kill her parents because of a specific reason. Like, all the other ones were just, like, these kids just wanted to kill people. Yeah, that was a really good video, though. That's fucking insane. Okay, next video. I exposed the most corrupt churches in America. This one is 32 minutes. This is a long one. This is 32 minutes.
That's me confronting the $60 million televangelist Benny Hinn.
Benny Hinn is a false prophet, fake healer, and snake oil salesman.
Oh my god. Oh my god. He's got moves. This guy's actually really good. I've seen a lot of his videos. He does shit like this all the time. I mean, he has 9 million subscribers, but he does shit like this all the time. He's incredible. His videos are great. And he doesn't give a fuck. He does shit like this all the time.
So we're going to get into the scriptures. Can we do that now?
He lives in a $10 million mansion, bought a private jet with
Okay, let's be
donations.
real.
So we're going to get into the scriptures. Can we do that now?
This guy definitely meets every priest stereotype ever. I can tell he likes kids just by looking at him.
He lives in a $10 million mansion,
Of
bought
course he does. Of course he does.
a private jet with donations from the churchgoers, and has made his riches by claiming to perform miracles.
Mercy and grace. Healing divine.
And by preaching
Okay, this
the
is
prosperity
the this is
gospel.
the dumbest
Basically,
thing I've ever watched. What the fuck is this? Is it holy air? What's he doing right now?
the idea that the more money you give to God, the more money God gives to you.
Are you facing a financial difficulty right now? There's only one way out of it. Give to the Lord. Even that little you have left, give it to God.
The only problem is, your money goes straight to Benny's bank account, while your wallet gets a prayer.
He told me that my vision would be 20/20, if not better. A couple hours later, it was just like, now I can't see the TV.
And Benny's not the only one who's made millions preaching the prosperity gospel to desperate people in need of a miracle.
So I have a question for you. Do you think you've used the Lord's word to profit?
Let's begin our investigation into the world.
I don't think this guy believes in God at all. Like, when I see stuff like this, like, I don't think the ones who are profiting so much off of it, they don't believe in God. They're just using it as, like, a way to get their riches. And some fucking miraculous way it manages to work. Like, I don't know how people could ever fall for this.
World of false prophets at Kenneth Copeland's church.
Okay, Kenneth Copeland is fucking crazy. I've seen so many clips of Kenneth Copeland. Look at those eyes!
You made that airplane so cheap for me, I couldn't help but buy it.
Perhaps the scariest and richest pastor in the world.
I am a rich Jew backed by a richer Jew.
I pulled up myself to see what his
What the
church
fuck?
actually believes in.
Not a ton of people here right now. We got an Israel flag, of course. I don't know anymore. Here's the thing about these places. They're all so nice. You feel bad coming in, even asking questions, because they're all so sweet to you. We're gonna hop out, go to church.
You asked for more ways to create, so we made a major update.
Shut up!
3D printing is now live. You can now design.
Give some money to God, and hopefully it 10x's like crypto.
What do some people misunderstand about the prosperity gospel?
I think they misunderstand the fact that.
Okay, so, like, people like Kenneth Copeland who are running this church, like, do you think the people below him that are working for him believe in it too? Or are they just also getting, like, a lot of money from the job? Like, I wonder if the people, like, right below him know if it's a bunch of bullshit or if they genuinely believe it.
for God to be able to accomplish what he wants to accomplish in the world and through his people.
Like, how do you fucking see that and think he's not a massive goddamn cornball?
And with his people. And to those that don't know him, it takes finances to do that.
Money makes this world go round.
Absolutely.
Prosperity is an all-inclusive term. It's not about getting rich quick or anything like that, but having the kind of life that God would have you to
Uh-oh. This motherfucker's lurking back there.
Like Abraham in Genesis 13:2 says he was very rich in
let me guess, they don't want him to film.
Which was what he needed. He had quite a heritage
What a surprise.
to pass on to others. But whatever it is, we pass that along.
Yes, sir. And how you doing, sir? We're doing a little interview right now.
Okay, this is private property. You're not allowed to do that. So I've got the place right here.
Why do you think people from the outside are so critical of the concept of the church having money or using money to sort of propagate or bring more people into the church?
His questions are so good too in every video.
It's been the some of the misuses and the abuses of the past that have not been godly. Certainly.
I believe in the prosperity gospel because that's what Jesus preached. Prosperity in health, mind, soul, finances. So the whole Bible, the whole gospel is prosperity.
Can God's will be accomplished without money, do you think?
Well, finances is the fuel. Anything doesn't work in this world unless you have some financial basis to work.
Money is make-believe. We made it up. We made up money. The only reason money has any sort of value at all is because we believe that it has value. That's how you know that, like, stuff like this is such bullshit. Because we made money. Money didn't just always exist. We made it up. We used to trade shit with each other before currency was a thing. And then we ruined the world. Currency is the end of the world.
None of this would...
Like, saying that your connection with your religion will get stronger by paying money is the dumbest concept ever. Because a religion has nothing to do with us in general. It has to do with a other dimension. Like, it's not even associated with us. So saying you have to pay money to increase your connection with God is so stupid. Like, you shouldn't have to donate to a church at all. It's just make-believe. I don't understand.
Unless there was a financial base.
Oh, I headed inside to see what the fuss was all about. Could this somehow be a misunderstood church with a lead pastor that happens to be worth hundreds of millions of dollars? As I entered the church doors, the first thing I noticed was Kenneth Copeland's store, selling everything you could think of and the Bible somewhere.
That is fire. That's a God-approved hat.
After purchasing a $38 Copeland hat, it was time to go
Right.
to church and listen to what they had to say.
And we don't have to do a whole lot of deep dive into scripture to just find that from the Bible, from the Word of God, His will for you is that you prosper. About Abraham in Genesis chapter 12, and starting from Genesis chapter 12 and on, the very first thing that God did to ratify the blessing on Abraham's life was He brought him out and He made him rich. And church, I'm here to announce to you today, He's still bringing us out and He's still making us rich. He's still bringing us out and He's still making us rich. He will deliver you. He will set you on high because you've known His name. When you call upon Him, He will answer you. He will be with you in trouble, and He always intends to bring you out. It is because He's trying to get something from you, but because He's trying to get something to you. He says, be a giver. Why? Because I'm a giver, so I want you to be a giver. Therefore, you step into the covenant. So this morning, you get an opportunity to exercise on Mother's Day what your mother would say. Do what you've been told. God wants to bless you, so step into the blessing.
There's people like why is there people chanting yes at this? Like, this is such bullshit. Everything I'm hearing.
Amen. So if you're giving this morning, you can make your checks payable to EMIC. For cash, credit, or debit giving, there's an envelope on the seat back in front of you, which will populate there. Or you can text to give. This is one of our most popular ways. You can text 36609. Happy Mother's Day, and ushers, when the people are ready, you can wait on the people. Praise Praise God.
As the ushers collected donations, I was happy to learn they also accepted credit card, but was surprised they didn't take crypto. But as the sermon began, I learned that a lot of this church's message was to basically claim blessings from God, and if you had enough faith, your life would be blessed. And if you didn't receive a blessing, it was because you didn't have enough faith.
You know, Sister Gloria really has taught us so much about what it means to apply the principles of prosperity.
I thought the whole point of Christianity was that, like, you get the things that Christianity provides just for believing in it. How do you not believe enough? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
We find in the Word of God.
And the words prosperity and faith were repeatedly emphasized throughout the sermon, sort of like we were casting a spell upon ourselves.
Brother Copeland has taught this statement, and that is this: faith begins where the will of God is known. And there may be those of you who have never heard this before. God's will is for you to walk in prosperity. 3 John chapter 1 verse 2 says, "Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in every way." Say every way. So prosperity is God's will for you. The issue is that sometimes when we hear prosperity, we think money. But that is a limited view of what prosperity is. It includes your money, but it also includes your marriage. It includes your family.
God, the people in the audience are like, they're just the most pea-brain motherfuckers.
It includes.
This.
Fuck you.
Is Alex. Alex is a producer who just got invited to work with a big artist tonight.
I don't care.
Our finances, amen?
My interpretation of this sermon is that God is like a miracle machine where I can will miracles into my life, and if I give him my faith and money, he will give me whatever I desire. Ultimately, God is there to make my life amazing. And after a sprinkle of sermon, this church began plugging harder than most YouTubers.
And in addition, for the people in the room, at the WordWorks bookstore, we have a Mother's Day sale going on. Special items, you see up there, special items are up to 50% off, and everything is up to 20%.
My God, like, some of them just gasped. Holy shit, dude.
% off, so you can celebrate the mothers in your life with a special gift today. So again, thank you so much, moms. We honor you, and we are so grateful for you.
As this old man began preaching, it was clear that Kenneth was nowhere to be found and was probably taking a nap in his mansion on the property right next to his private jet. So I drove south to Houston to confront the next biggest prosperity pastor I could think of, Joel Osteen. You may have seen Joel on the news 7 years ago after Hurricane Harvey ravaged the city of Houston.
Television pastor Joel Osteen is speaking out this morning, answering critics who say he waited too long to open his Houston megachurch to flood victims. The building, once a 16,000-seat arena, is now filling up with volunteers, supplies, and evacuees. But that didn't happen until yesterday.
From what I've seen, he's almost like a motivational speaker who has co-opted God and Jesus as his mascots to make money. I went to go see for myself.
Pastors Joel and Victoria Osteen. This is no longer a humble carpenter preaching the gospel here. This is an industrial corporate entity bringing in almost $100 million a year. What are your thoughts on Joel Osteen being super rich as a pastor?
I don't think it's ethical. I don't believe like super rich people should exist in general. I think especially in the context of religion and you know, the communities that they supposedly drive and support. As far as having religion be the basis of your own way to get there is extremely, I guess, hypocritical. You know, there are these self-proclaimed middlemen between God and the people, and they definitely use it to their advantage, unfortunately.
It was time to enter the church and see what their service even looked like.
Oh, he does a meet and greet on the second floor.
Okay. Before we attended service, I went upstairs to explore Joel's massive bookstore to see his latest product line. With so many products lining the shelves here besides the Bible, and with Joel's face plastered around the church like that of Jesus himself.
He's got a lot of books. It's his latest book.
One has to wonder if Joel uses his church's estimated $90 million annual budget and his mega church as a massive marketing machine to sell as many books as possible. But if the Bible is the true word of God, why would one need any of the countless books written by Joel?
There's so many books here, you couldn't even read them all. Looks like they have a metro lift to the church. That's crazy. This is huge.
It's a massive auditorium.
as I took one of the 16,000 available seats here in the largest church in America. After a digital greeting from Joel,
We're so blessed to have you. Always a joy to come into your homes. We just feel blessed and honored.
Sunday service had begun.
Dude, this guy's fucking loving it.
And then the hype man himself had entered the building ready to preach.
How many of you are ready to worship the Lord this morning? God's been good to all of us. I'm so honored to have you here in person. And I know we have some of our homecoming weekend crowd with us as well, too.
You really need that many lights for your parade, princess?
I hope even right now that you just realize that God is smiling down on you. He's got great things in store for each one of us, and we wouldn't be alive unless God had greater victories up in store. So,
and I won't lie, the energy in here was contagious, and it was easy to feel fuzzy inside.
take a moment to worship the Lord with our tithes and our offerings. We want to thank you for your generosity and your donations. Together, we're impacting people with hope and the love of Christ all over the world. Proverbs 18 says, when you give, it can open doors. That's what we're believing for you, among other things, that in 2024, you're going to see God open some doors that you couldn't open on your own.
Give hope? Are we fucking serious?
That happens when you're faithful, when you honor God with your life, with your decisions, and of course with your funds as well.
Oh my God, fuck you!
What you guys do every week, so get that down in your spirit. God can open doors that no person can shut. In your business, in your finances, in every good area. For your children, for the schools they need to go to.
I like how business and finances comes before children and schools.
But did the attendants come here to worship God or to get a motivational speech from Joel and a blessing from God? But of course, no matter how charismatic Joel was or how blessed his hairline is, his church preaches that the more faith and money I give to God, the more blessed my life is. And at the end of the day, financially giving to God, or rather Joel's church, is essential to open doors that are impossible to open on my own. And this sales pitch works. Luckily for me, there was a meet and greet with Joel right after service.
People are donating. Prosperity
hell yeah.
come. What you giveth, you may receiveth in 10 times. That's the hope at the very least. I mean, I guess I have a few basic questions, but I really want to know,
what is the justification for the belief in that giving to God is required for God to bless you? And of course, has Joel himself profited off of God's word to enrich himself?
Come on, Joel, let us in, please, please, God, please, please, for just one more, please, please, please. Please, man.
I have to have them out at a certain time.
Oh.
We do have books that are already signed that I
Please,
can
man. This close.
Now listen.
Oh, yes.
I need a promise.
All right.
You gotta go quickly.
All right.
Can't dilly-dally.
All right.
Don't start a story
Fair,
with
fair.
when I was 5.
Fair.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Joel, how you doing?
Good. How about you?
I'm doing good. Could you sign my book?
I'd be glad to.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm from Austin, Texas. Joel, I have a question for you. Do you think you've used the Lord's word to profit, like grossly? Or do you think you distorted the Lord's word to make money?
Thank you.
Whoa, 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 whoa,
Appreciate you coming.
whoa.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
I asked you not to do that in the obedience of God. He is a blessing, and you're here, and we asked you not to do it, and you still did that.
Okay, you're right.
I hope you get fucking colon cancer.
God bless you.
God bless you.
God bless you.
God bless you. All right. I mean, pretty softball question, I thought. God bless. I don't even know what the problem was, I'll be honest. I kind of stumbled the question out. How many books have you sold today?
Good amount.
Clearly, Joel didn't want to give me anything besides an opportunity to buy his newest book. So I headed to the River Church in Tampa, Florida, that claims to be able to perform miracles and heal things like cancer, AIDS, blindness, deafness, Alzheimer's, and anything else you can think of.
Of course.
I see you full of the life of God. I see you full of God's healing power. Oh, I see your bank account even overflowing. Hallelujah. Oh, I see the bank telling you, you got to go somewhere else.
But Real quick, before we investigate our next megachurch in this era of media corruption and bias, it's tough to know what's fake news and what's real news. But luckily, the sponsor of this video, Straight Arrow News, can help you find fact-based reporting from the left, right, and center. Using their Media Mist tool, you can stay up to date on what the mainstream news outlets don't cover on both the left and the right, like the Pentagon using illegal wiretaps.
I actually have seen
aides
this.
on the right, and a man allegedly
I thought of
fired for
getting
wearing
it.
religious shirts during Pride Month, reaching a settlement on the left. As I edited this video, I learned that Trump is pushing for an Iran nuclear deal while Israel warns of a possible attack, and that the State Department is pausing student visas to prepare for social media screening. And if you want to learn more about a given story, their Media Landscape tool displays the news outlets covering the story and groups them according to their bias. And if you want to find the original coverage from the outlets that reported it, you can click the outlet's icon and it'll take you directly to their coverage.
No!
This game, you're not ready for it.
I'm interested, actually. Hold on. Oh, why is it a minute and a half, though?
You're in the middle of this beautiful sci-fi environment, and you're seeing intrigue, the espionage, the alliances form, the power that shifts around, and it's amazing to watch.
Simple actions can have massive effects.
You can cooperate with people, compete with them, make friendships, deceive them, betray them.
Hold on.
It's amazing to think that it's all just other players.
More players start coming. It just starts this complete cascade of actions, and you don't know what's going to happen.
It is a free-for-all. We'll get locked up and shot instantly. People start dying left, right, and center. It's just something that you can't get anywhere else. It's just the rush. Like
In-game footage.
Everybody's on this journey and writing their own stories, and that is probably the simplest way I can describe it.
Things continue to change and evolve. It's awesome. I love it. Part of Eve.
Wait, what?
Coverage.
I'm
If
interested.
You want to stay informed, navigate misinformation, and avoid media bias, go to san.com/Tyler Oliveira for free. Thanks, Straight Arrow News. Back to church.
This man claims to be able to perform healing miracles. I have chronic neck, back pain, receding hairline, and erectile dysfunction. Let's see if he can cure me and anyone else who's attending.
Hi there. How are you? Good to meet you. Tyler. Are we in the right spot, the healing school?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you guys registered?
Yeah, we're registered. Yeah.
Okay, so is this your first day?
First time, yeah, first day. All right.
Alright, so you're gonna...
Okay, to say that you're a, like, proprietor of God and you can heal people, aren't you just calling yourself God? Like, how do people fall for this?
Just hold this right below your chin.
Okay.
You can put the water bottle down.
Ah, yeah.
Okay, right here. Keep your head
Okay.
up and put this.
Sorry, I have bad posture, a little bit of neck pain.
Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Not for long.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. That's why we're here.
I beg
Before
to
we hear
differ.
The healing school's pastor lists miracles he's performed, like making a young boy's asshole regenerate. I want to introduce you to a few people whose
what?
families were torn apart by the prosperity gospel and the word of faith movement.
I was raised in the Pentecostal faith, or charismatic. My dad's a Pentecostal evangelist. He was come up in the Church of God originally when he first started out, and traveled all around setting up tents and in churches and in auditoriums and things. Around 2020, I left that ministry and came here to this church, and it's been full-time here ever since.
Hi, my name is Daniel Chapman. I was in the Word of Faith theology for over 23 years, and that theology is built up a lot of the prosperity gospel, healing theology, deliverance theology, and I left that theology about 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, I was born into it. I, in my whole life, was in like a Pentecostal church. And so I think that naturally segues, you know, eventually into like Word of Faith.
For myself, I remember as a kid, we were going to probably more of a Baptist style church, and then just seeing the Word of faith are creeping in. I wasn't probably fully immersed in it until Mel and I were married, and I joined her church a little bit about 20 years ago.
God's power is for you. Oh, you don't have to come in here worried, anxious, wondering. The power of God is for you. All the resurrection power, oh, that was made available when God raised Jesus from the dead. Oh, he's got digestion healing power for you. He'll take out shellfish allergies, peanut allergies, wheat intolerance, gluten intolerance, dairy intolerance, hands and feet, and the Lord heals you today.
Explain, what is the prosperity gospel for dummies?
So it is the belief, completely unbiblically founded, that as Christians we are supposed to prosper in every single facet of our lives. Our health is supposed to prosper. We're always supposed to be well. We're always supposed to be healed. We're supposed to be prosperous in the literal sense of finances.
What drove you to leave your father's church?
My biggest problem that I ended up having was I never really opened the Bible for myself a whole lot. Okay. I was raised to listen to the man of God, and he had all the answers. And I was...
Who's the man of God?
So in this case would be my father. My dad preaches sinless perfection, which is an even more extreme version of Pentecostal doctrine, whereas you can't sin ever, or you're at risk of damnation. Some of the major things that they teach that I don't believe anymore is the prosperity gospel, the word of faith doctrine, and these are all doctrines that are prevalent in most, if not all, Pentecostal churches.
Okay, but like, how do you pick and choose which parts of the Bible you believe in? Like, that doesn't that just defeat the entire purpose of Christianity if you only believe in certain parts?
An event with the word open and conviction from the word to go, something really isn't right here. So it sent us both quickly down this path of what is actually truth.
Say that with me. Say, God, your power is for me. The exceeding greatness of his power.
Why is she on the floor? Why is she on the floor?
Resurrection life in Jesus Christ when God raised.
Why is she on the floor?
From the dead. That power's for you.
So go raise her from the dead.
Because I was scared for my soul. Because now I'm hearing from my dad, I'm going to hell. I'm not under his anointing, his protection. I'm not tithing to him anymore. Or God's covering or protection. I'm right now, according to them, out from underneath God's protection. And this is what happens when preachers put themselves on the level of God. When they call themselves Christ ones, or little gods, or little messiahs. Benny Hinn, Kenneth Copeland, Jesse Duplantis, they all use these kinds of terms.
You know, I would just say, like, as fantastical and crazy as this, these stories are, but there are people that we love so much. And I would say that this theology has wreaked havoc on our lives and in our relationships and our families. The God of the Bible and Christians who adhere to God's word as their standard would never treat people this way.
We're not meant to struggle through life. The Bible says, but God didn't redeem us and save us so we could be oppressed and pushed around and tormented. God called us to walk in victory. And it's important on what you listen to and who you listen to. Because some preachers, some churches...
Why the fuck am I getting $18 an hour?
They'll preach, life is difficult, we always go through challenges, try to have a good attitude because help will come eventually. And so it's all about our behavior in society, which I'm not taking away from that. The Bible does talk about loving your neighbor, but that's not the whole gospel.
How much of these misunderstandings, in your opinion, stem from biblical illiteracy?
Massive amounts. We had discussed earlier, a lot of people that are skeptic of the Christian faith can easily say, well, Christians don't even read their Bible. And I'm sure many Christians have even heard that. And speaking as a Christian myself, it is more true than you would think. The difference from true biblical Christianity is the ability to handle the text in context, to rightly divide the word of God and understanding exactly what it's talking about, because these word of faith and NAR belief sets are built completely on lies. And 1 Peter 2:24 makes it very clear that we are healed of sin sickness. That is what we are healed of, that we are absolved of our sin before God because of Christ's work. You know, we haven't received our glorified bodies yet. We await an inheritance upstairs. So these bodies will decay and fall away. So for somebody to make millions upon millions, telling people, well, you don't have enough faith for healing, give me some money, buy my books, but also has a pacemaker, is super, super rich, and people are dying all around him.
For one thing, like I said, it takes God out of the equation in a lot of your things. You don't have the relationship with God. It's all about you. How big is your faith? How much have you prayed so you can build up your faith and you can have this power? One of the biggest things about this is it's a literal faith killer. When you are praying, let's say you have a daughter or a son that's going through a horrible deal, and you have this pastor, so-called pastor, saying, you can speak it, speak what you want, and it will be done. If you have the faith, it'll be done. And you truly have faith. You truly believe what the pastor's telling you. You truly pray with true faith. And it never happens. Where does that put you in your faith? My big downfall was laziness, spiritual laziness. Like I said earlier, he was my spiritual mentor, and I just kind of listened to his preaching. I heard his preaching several days a week my entire life. And it was a lazy excuse. That got me into 40 years of trouble.
It's family. I love these people, and no matter what, we don't agree on a lot of things biblically, but I love them. They're my family, and it breaks my heart.
We've had some creative miracles in here. I told you about the guy who had
Okay, seriously, why is she on the floor?
colon and was using the bathroom in the bag, and then the power of God touched him the next day. The Lord rerouted him, gave him a miracle, and he was using the bathroom right away and healed him. There was another guy who came. His name was Scott. He was homeless. He had been backslidden. He'd had diabetes. He'd had toes amputated.
What? Yeah.
His body was just weak, and he'd heard about healing school, so he pulled himself in his weak state out of his wheelchair into his bike and rode 5 miles to get here. And the Lord helped him, and he made it. So he was out of the wheelchair, and he was biking. Like the Lord strengthened him, because he just said, I need help. It was almost like his body was so messed up that he was just like, Lord, you gotta do something. On his one foot, they'd cut off a couple toes, and then by mistake had severed a tendon. And then on the other foot, they took off a couple toes, and they had to remove the bone that went down the part of the foot. This is what he said later, while he was telling the testimony. He said the power of God came into his foot. He felt his foot start burning. He went back to his seat, and the Lord said, check your foot. Well, when he went to do it, there was a bone. The Lord regrew a bone in his foot. It was a creative miracle.
The people...
Why are they all gasping like there's something... Like he's just telling them a fairy tale. The only piece of evidence he has for this story is his word, and they're just all gasping like he said something crazy.
That are oftentimes the easiest to deceive are the ones with the best intentions. These people are so...
Oh my God, they look so stupid.
Often victimized. They're innocent, they're lovely people, and they go into these churches wanting to find...
They all look so
wanting to
dumb.
find community, and they're perfect victims for people to say, oh, well, I see that your uncle has cancer. You know how you deal with that. You give a little money into the tithe bucket. That's, before you know it, they don't know any better. Healing theology is probably the most disgusting version of Christianity out there.
What is going on here?
That I see, because you see people dying, literally, because you see people stop taking their medications, giving away all their money, giving away their estates, because they're desperate, because they just don't want to die from terminal cancer.
My knees hurt, right? Knee, be healed. Be healed in Jesus. I command healing to my knee right now in Jesus' name.
It's like whipping God into shape.
Right. It's like you're gonna jerk him over here and be like, heal that. Who are you? Who do you think you are? I don't believe that God doesn't work miracles. I just don't believe that there are men or women out there that have the ability, like a superhero, to just go on command, touch somebody and heal them. That's God's sovereign will, and we are to ask for that, and he can do it if he so chooses.
You got to consider though too when they're broken emotionally, these types of churches.
Still staying up late?
So many ads.
Being solo? With Hacko AI, get the ultimate companion for your playtime.
Just go after them when they come through the door.
Yeah.
So it's this love bombing.
They're an addict or something, and they're just like desperate for anything to work, and they're gonna give you things to do and give you a lot of false hope, I would say, because there's going to be these fantastical stories that I had these visions, I have, you know, and they'll begin to, there's a healing presence right now. You have an ailment, come, be always in God's presence. The more you come being in God's presence, then you can be healed.
This guy never testified, but I like to tell his testimony. But he was 13 years old, and he had been born without a butthole. At birth,
Are we fucking serious?
they had to do a surgery to create one for him. But he never had muscles to control his bowel movements. So everything worked, but he didn't control it. So he's 13 and he's worn a diaper his whole life. Well, they came for healing school, and they went into their one-on-one with Pastor Shannon. Pastor Shannon heard the situation, prayed for him. The next morning when he woke up, he said, for the first time, I was able to control my bowel movement. The Lord put
Top 10 things that never fucking happen.
muscles in for him.
Why are they clapping? Why are they clapping?
I won't make
He just made this story up. Oh, I won't make things up.
Oh, he's got
I promise you. Oh, he promises. He promises. Oh, so it's all true. It's all true.
right now.
Oh my god, these people are so stupid.
Hallelujah. Oh, I see your bank account even overflowing.
Are we fucking deadass?
Oh, I see the bank telling you, you gotta go somewhere.
Okay, for real, what the fuck are they cheering for?
Too small of a bank.
Sit down!
Handle your transactions. Hey, hallelujah. Oh, I see the word of God. I see you full of God's healing. We had a young man come to healing school. He had never been a believer.
Alright, the people who are in this church are too far. They're too far gone to be saved. Just bomb the whole church.
He's like, I need to come to church. So he comes to church and he gives his life to the Lord. He receives Jesus Sunday. Comes back the next week, gets water baptized, and then hears about healing school. So then he shows up. He's been born again for like 2 weeks. So one day he's like, oh, I gotta go to the doctor. I gotta go get another blood test. I'm like, listen, cancel that and come and stay. Come and be in healing school today. Let the Lord touch you. And he sat down.
Let him what? What's he doing? Why is he touching me?
And then I prayed for him and I cursed him.
The pre-stereotypes are showing a lot here.
His bowel disease in the blood. I cursed this thing in Jesus' name. You know, he went back and got a blood test while the session was going on, and there was no more STD. Things were good.
There's people in here buying this shit.
Life in your marriage, life in
Dude,
your body, life
sit
in
the
your
fuck down.
finances, life in your job, life in your attitude, life in your joy.
Oh my god, it's just word soup. Bro, shut up.
You must ask whatever you want, and it will be done for you. Lift the word. One more time, why don't you lift those hands in the back?
Yes. Thank you.
You can take it now today by your faith. You can take it, you can reach out, and you can receive by your faith. Reach out and receive by your faith today.
Are they fucking crying? Oh my god. Oh my god.
She was here for a while. If you saw the woman that I hugged in the break, that was my mom. So. The woman I kissed on the head. I just want to make it clear. I'm married to one woman, and that was my mom. So.
Your mom should be sickened by you. You're a false charlatan. You're a scammer.
Yes!
You're a liar. He's gonna get some of you killed. If someone you knew were to ambush Benny Hinn at one of his spiritual conferences,
like you,
what would you ask him?
I would want him to give me a representation of the gospel.
Okay.
A lot of these people, I don't believe, can give a heart-convicting, truly biblical, accurate representation of the gospel.
All right, Daniel. Time to go ask Benny for some answers.
Best of luck, sir.
He's a liar. Oh, security. You guys are going to get killed by his false teachings. I'm quick. After trying to warn the sick people there of the charlatan claiming to heal their illness, after buying a $99 ticket to the Spirit Life Conference, I headed to Chicago, Illinois to meet their guest speaker, Benny Hinn. We're in Chicago, windstorm
Holy
is
shit.
approaching. It is time for Benny's judgment. So real quick.
I'd be like, go on down the road, you fuck.
If you want to support our boots on the ground, independent journalism that is not won't let me up, go subscribe at.
And God's people said, amen. You may be seated.
Benny Hinn is a false prophet.
Enough is enough, brother.
Oh yeah, he is quick.
Enough is enough.
I'm peaceful, I'm peaceful. You're
Yeah.
Whoa. He's abusing the word of God, somebody. Hey, no problem.
Help the dear man out. It's all right. No problem. It's all right, brother. Calm down.
While I was getting the George Floyd treatment, fighting for each
Whoa. I don't know if that's a fair comparison.
breath, my
That's a little fucking insane to say.
cameraman ran for his life to avoid a similar fate.
So we're going to get into the scriptures. Can we do that now?
Only to get captured and beaten with his own camera.
I was hit twice. I was hit twice with a golf cart, assaulted by a person here. Then he tackled me and threw me into the middle of a active road. And after that, they kept beating my head. And then they grabbed my camera and they were trying to delete the footage. Actively.
I just got hogtied, body slammed and tackled. Pasha went running and apparently they clipped him with a golf cart and proceeded to beat his head in and delete the footage. So things are not looking good. We are headed to the hospital right now where he is. Gonna make sure he's alive. Apparently they deleted all the footage from the camera, so it's gone. I've been trespassed. I'm headed to the hospital, making sure Pasha's alive. In an ironic twist of fate, the church themselves beat the shit out of us, from what it sounds like, beat the shit out of Pasha. So we're gonna check in.
I see a lawsuit coming. I like this.
They deleted the first one because they could not touch the second one.
How are you telling them what happened next? What did they do? They ran you
ran me over with a golf cart twice. He said I'm gonna die today. He threw me in the middle of the active roadway in front of a semi-truck. He beat my head with an asshole. Like 4 or 5 people on top of me.
Yeah.
Beating on my head, ankles, knees. They snagged the camera out. They hit my head with the camera.
Shout out the son of Bishop Dan Willis, off-duty cop Chad Willis, for throwing me around like a ragdoll with his goon squad and giving
Oh my
me
God,
the
he's giving
George Floyd
names out.
breakdown. And shout out this bald security schmuck for trying to murder Pasha with a golf cart. This video is by no means meant to be an attack on faith, but rather a demand for accountability to those who distort the word of the Bible, predate on the biblically illiterate, desperate, naive, and poor to make themselves wealthy. And in the words of Matthew 7:15, beware of the false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves.
What they do is scriptural macaroni. So they'll grab a verse here, and a verse here. And
Yeah, I noticed them doing that. I was gonna say something. When they were in the Joel, that one, when he was, or not Joel, was it the first one? They were only getting like random parts of the Bible and then relating it to money and donating to the church. Like they're only picking and choosing certain parts of the Bible to say.
Together and be like, see, if we make that soup, that's who I am. So for example, in Genesis 2, it says, we shall make them in the image of God. So the creation of us. Big issue that we have there is that they leave out likeness.
Not exact replica, one for one.
We're not like a clone or anything.
Okay.
We are like God. We have the image of God.
It's so clear if you just read it for yourself, without somebody else twisting it, without somebody just cherry picking one little verse out of its context and holding it against you, and realize that, hey, they've been lying to me the whole time.
God, he is big enough and more than capable of communicating what he wants us to know. Go back and look exactly at what he said.
Does society make you feel like you don't have
the
right to set standards in relationships? Spokio is the ultimate tool.
Content warning.
Yeah. Dude, I don't believe in any specific religion, but the people who do believe in some sort of religions, they dedicate their entire life to it, and they think of God in a way like you would think of your parents. Like, they think of God so closely to them. So to think that these people take that belief and use it to their own advantage is so fucking disgusting. Yeah, that was a really good video though. Go check out that guy's YouTube channel. It's fucking amazing. But we'll move on to the next one. This is Weirdest Phobias. This one's 25 minutes long.
Fear is
I don't think I have any phobias. I have fears that are similar to phobias. But I don't think I have any phobias. Like, if I saw a picture of it, I wouldn't freak out.
Responds to something dangerous, like spiders, heights, or needles. Ugh. But a phobia is an irrational and debilitating fear of an object, place, situation, feeling, or animal. So while being scared of deadly spiders makes sense, an arachnophobe, like me, is terrified by the smallest and most harmless house spiders, like these. Oh God, kill them with fire! With that said, people can be terrified by just about anything, from eyes and belly buttons to teeny tiny holes. So, if you're feeling...
I've seen trypophobia before, and that's... like, it's definitely unsettling when you look at trypophobia pictures, but some people fucking lose their minds at that, and I'm like, I don't understand. Like, they're literally just tiny, tiny holes, and they're fucking terrified of them.
Brave, strap in and brace yourself as we take a look at some of the weirdest phobias that exist. Not normal nomophobia. Have you ever gone out and suddenly realized you've left your phone at home? Or even worse, you've lost it? To some, it's just a mild inconvenience. But to sufferers of nomophobia, this can induce a full-blown panic attack. The term is an abbreviation for no mobile phone phobia, which is the weird fear of not having your phone or being able to use it. Even the idea of running out of battery can induce a sense of dread so intense that sufferers will ensure they're...
So, just being a massive fucking chud. Is your doom scroll waiting on you? How are you afraid of this much?
near a power source at all times. That certainly sounds extreme, but it's more common than you might think. About 50% of American teens believe they're addicted to their...
Are we fucking serious? 50%? What?
Smartphones, and 12% of adults even take them into the shower.
Gang.
And not just for naughty selfie reasons.
Okay, you didn't have to add that in.
But what causes people to feel so scared without their beloved smartphones? While there's no specific cause, experts believe it's linked to a fear of isolation. I mean, if your phone serves
Okay,
as
now that makes sense for 50% of for teens in America.
the main method of contacting the people you care about, you'd feel horribly lonely without it. They also believe trauma could play a role. Like if losing your phone once caused you serious distress, you might excessively worry about it happening again. Either way, the call of this phoneless fear is one I'd rather not pick up.
Don't make some fuck-ass joke like that again.
Crazy kumpunophobia.
Okay.
Buttons
Yeah. Are we fucking... We're afraid of sewing buttons? Are we serious? I have a sweater with these.
on clothes are there to make our lives easier, but they aren't loved by everyone, or at least not people with kumpunophobia. The root of this term comes from the word kumpono, which is Greek for button. And as you've probably guessed, yes, it's the bizarre fear of buttons. Approximately 75,000 people in the world suffer from the timidity of these toggles, and most have
75,000 are afraid of buttons?
fairly similar reasons why. Some simply despise their texture, whereas others have experienced intense trauma relating to them, which has manifested into a phobia. Being so small and grabbable, children sometimes swallow buttons or push them up their nose, causing them a lot of pain along with a scary trip to the hospital. Others find it difficult to get the hang of buttoning up clothing, which can be seriously embarrassing if you're mocked for it. These are just a few examples of how button-based trauma can
Those fucking buttons be giving me a hard time every day I wear them. You're bullying people over that?
develop into a phobia, but it's not the end of the world. In fact, kumpunophobia is responsible for one of the most important technological developments in history. You see, Apple co-founder and CEO Steve Jobs unbelievably admitted to suffering from kumpunophobia.
Are
and
we
it's
fucking
this fear that helped inspire the creation of the almost buttonless iPhone.
the creator of the iPhone was afraid of buttons.
We'll never know for sure just how much influence this phobia had on the final design, but it does explain why he only ever wore turtlenecks. But here's the big question. Are you afraid of buttons? No? Well then prove it by hitting those like and subscribe buttons.
How the fuck does that prove it? Yeah, that wasn't even slick
down
at
below.
all.
Now, where were we?
In Albion,
oh, you're pissing me off.
Where you go or what you do, your mount will accompany you on your journey. Perhaps you'll...
Long word loathing. Imagine you're in
I might have this one.
school and the teacher calls you up to the front of the class to read something.
Oh.
You look at the page and there's a long, intimidating word staring back at you. You try and break it down, but it's no good. After a while, all the other kids start to laugh, and suddenly you're the butt of a class-wide joke. Sounds pretty daunting, right? Well, it's distressing
Not really,
situations
actually.
like this that can cause people to develop an irrational fear of saying or even reading long words. As you can imagine, a fear of long words can be crippling, as it interferes hugely with schoolwork and education. Although the actual name of this phobia makes it even worse, because it's cruelly called hippopotamonstrosis.
Yeah, Jesus
phobia.
fucking Christ. Yeah, what? Whoever names phobias or just names of like learning disabilities too, or any sort of like mental disability, are so fucked up. Like dyslexia is a word that dyslexic people could barely spell. And then this long ass name for a phobia for someone who's afraid of long words. What the fuck is wrong with people?
I think I just strained my tongue.
I hate you. I hate this guy. He ruined it.
Curiously, sesquipedalian on its own means to have many syllables, so this fear should be called sesquipedaliophobia. But some monster decided to add all those extra syllables onto the beginning. Were they trying to give its sufferers a panic attack?
Yes.
Well, the name itself is purposefully designed to help sufferers overcome their fear. Instead of avoiding all long words, the name of this phobia alone forces sufferers to confront their fear.
Oh, I take it back. It's not that bad. But what the fuck? Why is dyslexia called that?
Exposure to these supersized syllables in a safe setting does help lessen a sufferer's panic.
Okay, yeah, no, my friends would never comfort me like that. Dude, if I was upset about something, they'd be like, toughen up, pussy. They wouldn't hug me.
That's pure genius or sheer cruelty. Colorful conundrum. Being the lightest hue on the color spectrum, yellow is often associated to bright, happy things, like sunshine and springtime. But yellow isn't a happy color for everyone. Just ask sufferers of xanthophobia. That's right, these poor people have an unrelenting fear of the color yellow.
What? You're afraid of a color?
But that would mean they're scared of everything from school buses and taxis to flowers and bananas. Well, as strange as it sounds, it's not the only color that people are terrified of. It sits under the, very muted umbrella of chromophobia, which is the fear and aversion of colors. For example, sufferers of melanophobia are afraid of the color black. For porphyrophobia, purple is their primary fear, and in cases of leukophobia, white just ain't right.
Imagine being afraid of the color white. Dude, because like clear things have like a white tint most of the time. How? Oh my gosh. How would you live your life being afraid of a color?
In their most aggressive forms, just saying the names of these colors can be enough to trigger full-blown panic attacks.
What?
But why can a single color cause such an immobilizing reaction? Like many phobias, these can often be traced back to specific traumatic events. A sufferer might have been in an accident with a yellow car, for example, and unconsciously associated their intense fear of the situation with that color. Or sometimes, intense colors can induce painful migraines, so sufferers go out of their way to avoid them entirely. Man, I don't want to know what happens if these poor people look up at a rainbow. Terrifying turophobia. Is there anything more to...
Afraid of cheese? Dude, cheese is like top 3 things ever. You're afraid of cheese?
delicious than pizza topped with mouth-watering amounts of hot, stringy cheese? Just the thought of it is making my stomach rumble. Although, for anyone with turophobia, this is guaranteed to make their stomach churn. It's not a fear of pizza, thank God, but a fear of cheese, which is so much worse. As blasphemous as it sounds, plenty of people simply don't like cheese because of its flavor, smell, or even texture. But turophobia is an abject fear of all or some of these cheesy features, which usually stems from some kind of trauma, like being really sick after eating some, or even choking on a piece. It can be so upsetting that
you got a stomach ache and developed a phobia off of it?
Sufferers choose to avoid these delicious dairy products altogether, and by avoiding it, their harrowing experience gradually curdles into intense disgust or fear. I guess you could say they just can't bear it.
This guy's dad jokes are pissing me off.
Hopefully, they're not afraid of cheesy jokes as well. Difficult decidophobia. What are you going to have for lunch tomorrow? Are you going to take out the trash before then? Or will you clean up your room first? These are basic questions.
That sounds more like ADHD to me than a phobia.
But if you felt anxious at the thought of making any of those choices, you might suffer from a degree of decidophobia. As you can probably guess by the name, that's the fear of making decisions. Now, you're always making choices, from what you eat to what you wear and how you act. You do it so often, in fact, that the average person makes about 35,000 conscious decisions a day, assuming you sleep for about 8.
That is fucking insane. Imagine living like that. Like, some of these phobias, like, how do you live being afraid of making decisions? That sounds like so miserable. I don't like, this is insane.
8 hours.
I didn't know any of these existed except for the, like, trypophobia. I knew that one existed. And, like, basic phobias. But the fear of making decisions, that's insane.
That's at least 36 decisions a minute. So, depending on how aggressive a person's decidophobia is, chronic sufferers can be paralyzed by their fear every minute of every day. But what could be the root cause of this debilitating phobia? Well, it's most commonly associated with a perfectionist thinking style, meaning making any kind of mistake can make them feel incredibly anxious. However, being afraid to make the wrong decision can turn into being too scared to make any decisions at all. What a terrifying paradox. Problematic papyrophobia. Paper isn't exactly man's worst enemy.
Afraid of paper? Well, money is man's worst enemy. This guy's wrong.
But paper cuts definitely are. Those tiny incisions.
This one is a based phobia to have. Fuck paper cuts.
It hurts so much. So you can almost understand why papyrophobia, also known as the irrational fear of paper, exists. The term stems from the ancient Egyptians, who used papyrus to make a crude type of paper. But not every papyrophobe fears paper in the same way. Some fear the texture of dry paper, while others despise slushy wet paper, purely blank paper, or even just the sound of ripping paper. And as weird as that seems, it's not as uncommon as you think. Actress Megan Fox revealed she loathes touching dry paper, so she requests all her scripts be laminated. Or instead, she neurotically wets her fingers as she flips through the pages. Obviously, this fear can be pretty debilitating, seeing as we're faced with books, letters, and receipts on a near-daily basis. Fortunately, treatment is available in the form of learning coping skills called cognitive behavioral therapy, such as gradual desensitization and anti-anxiety medication, and maybe use of an e-reader.
I always had good gums and good bones, but rotten teeth. I woke up one morning and had
sounds like a skill issue. Dude, being afraid of paper,
Veritable vestophobia. Is there anything worse than putting on your favorite clothes and suddenly realizing they're too tight? While it can serve—
That's never happened to me, you bitch.
Serve as a reminder to start that dreaded diet for some, for others, tight clothing can spark an all-out anxiety attack. And in the worst cases, even baggy clothing can make people feel afraid. This condition is known as vestophobia, not a fear of vests, but a fear of clothing. It's thought to stem from claustrophobia, the fear of confined spaces, because tight clothing is a common trigger for vestophobes. While we all know clothing isn't dangerous, it can link back to a traumatic event involving clothing or fabric, where the individual felt trapped or
Okay, how do you get yourself in this situation?
struggled to breathe. Like getting yourself caught in a garment, or somehow, hilariously, getting stuck in a sweater. But it's not just these faux pas that can fuel a fear of fashion. Soldiers and military personnel can develop this phobia by associating bulletproof vests and boots with some understandably stressful experiences. And like their causes, the symptoms of this phobia depend on the individual. Some tremble and sweat if they come into contact with clothing, while others can hyperventilate, become nauseous, and even faint. Fortunately,
Bro, just go nude. What's the problem?
doctors can often prescribe anti-anxiety medication and a range of therapies to help sufferers overcome their wardrobe worries. Serious selenophobia. The moon has been the muse of humanity for thousands of years, but while some find it utterly spellbinding, to those with selenophobia, there's nothing more frightening. Derived from the mythological name
Oh my god, tie their eyes to a telescope and watch them tweak.
Selene, who was the Greek goddess of the moon, selenophobia is the strange fear of that big rock up in the sky. Regardless of what phase of the lunar cycle it's in, just thinking about the moon is enough to make most sufferers dizzy with fear. It may sound ridiculous, but this phobia has some deep roots in human history. Back in the 4th century, insanity was thought to be dependent on the phases of the moon.
Oh, I have heard about
this.
this.
The creation of the Latin word lunatic, which was originally used to describe those with epilepsy. But this gave rise to the fear of going insane because of the moon's phases. Selenophobia can also link to the fear of fabled creatures tied to the moon, like werewolves, or that horrifying floating face from The Legend of Zelda. Way to scar the kids, game designers. As a result, some sufferers became nocturnal, sleeping during the day to keep a wary eye on the moon at night. But amazingly, selenophobia is relatively easy to treat. You see, phobia patients are often hesitant to leave their homes, even for treatment, because there's a chance they might encounter the thing they fear. But because—
Isn't there people who are like afraid of the sun? Wasn't the brother in Benchwarmers, like the guy with the bowl cut, wasn't he afraid of the sun or something?
Most treatment operations operate during the day, it's easier for selenophobes to leave their house. This allows them to get the help they need to face their faraway fear. Vindictive venustrophobia. Have you ever tried to talk to someone attractive, only to find your tongue is tight?
Not once in my entire life.
Itself in a knot, and every pore on you is gushing.
Oh, never, I take it back. Yeah, this has happened.
Sweat. This bodily betrayal isn't unusual, but imagine just looking at a beautiful woman and suddenly experiencing a
I don't have to manage it.
full-blown panic attack. Sadly, that's exactly what it's like to have venustrophobia, the unfortunate fear of women you find attractive. This term stems from the name Venus.
Yeah, we're close. We're close.
People in the world suffer from the timidity of these toggles, and most have fairly
How far
similar
did I
reasons
skip?
why.
Fuck.
Some simply—
Wait, no, I missed my spot. Shit. Okay, it's this one.
But imagine alone the name Venus, who was the Roman goddess of love, beauty, and fertility. While it may have you hilariously imagining men cowering before goddess-like ladies, it's really not a laughing matter. Just the thought of an attractive woman can cause sufferers to experience dizziness, nausea, and even vomiting.
Okay, that's okay. Yeah, no, that's fucking insane.
Eesh, she is not going to find that sexy.
Hey, look! A french fry! Cool!
Although it's not just heterosexual men this can affect. Heterosexual women and even children reportedly suffer from this fine-looking phobia. So what on earth causes it? Experts believe that intense trauma involving beautiful women is to blame, though whether that's a bad breakup, an embarrassing rejection, or even having an abusive mother is down to the individual. What a terrifyingly pretty trifecta of trauma. Troubling teratophobia. Now, rumor has it that the father of psychoanalysis, Sigmund Freud, had a super strange phobia of his own, even though he was the founder of many modern therapies that help people overcome their fears. He supposedly couldn't stand, you won't believe this, ferns. That's right, the leafy green plants loved by gardeners around the world. The scientific name of this bizarre fear is derived from the Greek word teres, meaning fern, giving us teratophobia. Although, sadly, Freud's fern fear appears to be something of an urban myth. He never mentions suffering from a fear of ferns in his works, but even
So why did we even put this in as the details?
He wasn't afraid. People today are. After all, some ferns actually are poisonous to humans, and seeing how their leaves unnervingly unfurl from those strange little spirals, they can leave people feeling a little queasy. I mean, looking at this photo now, I can almost see clusters of baby snails or curled up centipedes crawling about on the leaves. Ugh. But what do you see? Let me know down in the comments. Ominous omatophobia. Accidentally locking eyes with someone on public transport can make you feel a bit awkward, but for sufferers of omatophobia, it's a waking nightmare. This phobia relates to a bizarrely extreme fear of eyes, and this can be of the sufferer's own eyes, those of other people, or even just images of eyes. Admittedly, the more you think about how these complex organs are just gelatinous orbs filled with thick, squishy jelly, the creepier they become. But this phobia isn't limited to a fear of what eyes are, as it can also come from a traumatic experience, like getting something sharp stuck in the outermost lens of the eye, called the cornea. Though that's not the worst thing that can happen. If the cornea becomes clouded or scarred, some people have artificial corneas like this inserted into their eyes. Called a Boston keratoprosthesis, the device contains 16 holes which allow the eye's fluids to provide nutrients to a donor cornea graft. As miraculously sight-saving as these procedures are, they can be seriously traumatic. This, in turn, can manifest as an irrational fear of anything going near the eyes, even helpful things like contact lenses or even eye drops. But traumatic incidents aren't always painful. Someone experiencing serious nerves during a public speech might associate the huge number of eyes on them with the fear they feel. Or just watching someone put in a fake eye can be pretty unnerving. Anyone else?
Yeah, that makes me uncomfortable.
Omatophobia developing right about now?
These fuck-ass ads.
Naval nightmares. Here's a weird question. How many times a day do you think about your belly button? Not that many.
26 times a day.
Right? After all, belly buttons are pretty small, they're not usually painful, and they don't do anything. So why is it that people with
Yeah, why do we have these again?
Omphalophobic are nonsensically afraid of navels? As strange as it sounds, omphalophobes just can't stomach the sight of innies or outies, including their own, and touching them is absolutely out of the question. Some sufferers report that being poked there feels like someone's rooting around in their insides, but they're not exactly wrong. Doctors have explained that when you stick something into your belly button, it sends a signal from the deep fibers lining your inner abdominal cavity to your spinal cord. And at that level, your spinal cord is responsible for relaying signals to your bladder, so it can make you feel like you need to pee. As cool as that is, not everyone appreciates the feeling. So much so that just the sight of a belly button can send omphalophobia sufferers into a spiral of anxiety. And while therapy can help sufferers deal with their navel niche, Some go way further and opt for the extreme measure of having their belly button removed. Well, that's definitely one way to button up your fears. A whole lot of fear. Lotuses are some of the most beautiful aquatic flowers on the planet, but they also contain a nightmare-inducing secret. The seed pods of these gorgeous blooms are made up of tightly packed, irregular holes, which get wider and darker as the head dies. Did those images make you want to set your screen on fire? Then you might be a sufferer of trypophobia, the irrational fear of irregular
Yeah, this is the one I was talking about earlier. I've seen this phobia before.
Holes or bumps. Though it's not a well-known condition, many people report feeling a serious aversion to horrid holes like these. And that's a problem, because they can occur just about everywhere. From rocks on the beach and pancake batter to skin indents, vegetable roots, and even sponges. But what is it that makes them universally unsettling? Well, so far...
Imagine having trypophobia and the phobia of cheese.
Science doesn't have an answer. Because it affects so many people, there should, in theory, be a shared evolutionary reason to be afraid, like associating the closely packed patterns on the backs of venomous and poisonous animals with the danger of being hurt by them. But incredibly, no studies have been able to establish that concrete link. One theory suggests that the fear may be linked to the bumpy appearance of serious skin diseases, like pitted keratolysis, which is caused by a bacterial infection. But if this is a deep-rooted fear of skin diseases, being afraid of the infection itself rather than the cause of it doesn't make much sense. While its origins are still a mystery, you might be able to understand why a trypophobic trigger like the sickening Suriname toad leaves people screaming. These critters develop in 60 to 100 eggs embedded in their mom's back, and when they hatch, they hideously erupt out of the honeycombed holes.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Okay, we get it.
Nasty nomophobia. The little hats and bushy
No fucking way you're afraid of garden gnomes.
of happy little stone gnomes can really bring a garden to life. Though for sufferers of nomophobia, these scenes are more like stony hellscapes. This chronic fear of garden gnomes is another phobia that isn't widely known, even though several people have reported it. But it's hard to see how the gnomes' friendly expressions, adorable outfits, and totally inanimate nature could cause fear in any way. However, one woman who appeared on the Tyra Banks show linked it back to watching the Leprechaun horror film when she was a child. In the film, an evil, pint-sized villain commits a series of violent atrocities. Traumatized by the scary scenes, she linked the lecherous leprechaun's appearance to that of the garden gnomes. Similar horror stories, like the kids' Goosebumps book series, describes lawn gnomes coming to life and turning children into trampolines or playing tug-of-war with their bodies. Wait, those were kids' books? Yikes! No wonder people grew up terrified of them. Grave globophobia. It's not a party without a couple of balloons. That's just one of the unwritten rules of society.
This one I weirdly understand. I don't know why. I'm not afraid of balloons, but like the consistency of balloons, like the feeling of them touching them and the sounds, I can understand why someone would have a phobia of this.
There are some people who can't stand to be in the same room with these pretty party accessories. Known as globophobia, the fear of balloons is a hyperinflated sense of fear that floats around these celebratory staples. Just the sight, sound, touch, or even smell of them is enough to send sufferers into dizzying panic attacks. For others, it's so bad that even talking about them makes their skin crawl. Now, I'm sure just about everyone has been startled by one of these things unexpectedly popping behind them. It's a hilarious prank for some, but for young kids, unpredictable and loud noises can be utterly terrifying. Some will scream hysterically, run away, and even hide. And as they grow up, this fear can inflate into full-blown globophobia, which sees sufferers avoiding balloons at all costs. Oprah Winfrey famously admitted that she suffers from the debilitating phobia, as the sound of popping reminds her vividly of gunfire. While some people learn to live with the fear by avoiding social events like fairs and parties, the right professional treatment can help burst this phobia for good. Phenomenal phobophobia. If you actually suffered from phobophobia, there's a good chance you wouldn't have made it to the end of this video due to your crippling fear of, well, fear. Technically, phobophobia is the fear of developing phobias, as well as the fear of fear itself. Now, fear is necessary for our survival, and when we're scared, our body's natural fight-or-flight response kicks in. Either we face whatever scares us head-on, or we run away. But this automatic physiological response can make your heart rate, your breathing rapid, and your entire body tense up. While it effectively prepares you to take immediate physical action, not many people find the experience pleasant.
Dude, how would you have a fear of fear? Like, what are you feeling in that moment? Like, you start to have like a panic attack. Like, what are you having a panic attack at? Like, you're scared you're going to be scared? That's so weird.
That some people develop a fear to the reaction of fear itself. This is a vicious spiral that leads not only to a fear of being in scary situations, but of developing phobias in the future. And as comically cruel as this sounds, having this impossibly ironic fear actually increases the likelihood of developing a phobia. Well, it may not be the most common phobia, but it's definitely the cruelest. Do you have any of these super strange phobias?
Yeah, I'm definitely afraid of women. That was a pretty good video. I didn't know a majority of those existed. Let's move on to the next one. What is the next video? Okay. That was a good video. Next one, horrors on YouTube Kids. I have no fucking idea.
When YouTube first launched in 2005, it very obviously was not intended for kids. Not a lot of people know this, but the platform you're watching this video on right now was originally built to be a dating site.
I did actually know that, and I'm astonished.
Yeah, the idea was that you would upload a video introducing yourself, and then you could watch introduction videos from other users and message them if you liked what you saw. Kind of like those weird dating videotapes from the 80s and 90s.
I'm a nice fellow. I don't know.
I'm particularly attracted to black women and women of different...
Gang, the dating life can't be this bad.
races. So if you like me, give me a call.
This idea wasn't very successful. In fact, according to one of YouTube's founders, Javed Karim, nobody was uploading dating introduction videos.
So stupid.
But some people were using the site to upload other sorts of content. Dog videos, clips of family vacations. There didn't really need to be any sort of gimmick to make YouTube work. People are just happy to have an easy way to share their home videos with others online. YouTube may have launched as a dating site in February 2005, but by June of that year, they had completely rebranded and revamped the platform to remove all traces of its odd dating site beginnings.
Playing on iPhone? Now you can play Unlocked on PC with Google Play Games.
Much like other blossoming social media platforms at the time, YouTube's majority demographic for the first few years of its existence were teenagers. This is pretty clear when you look at all the major YouTube stars in the early days of the site, who mostly appear to be high school or college students. I personally started using YouTube in 2007 when I was 11 years old. Back then, the only good way to use the site was to visit it in a browser on a computer, whether it was a laptop or desktop. Tablets didn't exist back then, the modern form of smartphones were still in their most primordial form and were mostly relegated to a select few tech enthusiasts, and the only way to watch YouTube on a TV was to hook up a computer to it and use it as a monitor, which most people couldn't even do because CRTs were still the most widespread form of TV at the time, and the vast majority of tube TVs don't support the digital I/O a computer needs. In short, YouTube was inconvenient, and that really prevented it from being used as a serious platform for anything. But that wouldn't be the case for very long. In the early 2010s, smartphones capable of high-speed cellular connections would explode and become widely adopted. iPads would kick off the consumer tablet market, which also exploded. People would swap their bulky, aging CRT TVs for cheap and higher quality LCD panels, which could not only act as a computer monitor, but YouTube would even begin offering apps for game consoles and streaming boxes like Apple TV, which were also becoming widely adopted. Gone were the days of sitting at your desk to watch Smosh's Food Battle. Now you could watch PewDiePie on basically any media consumption device you owned. And you know what people started doing? They began using YouTube as a babysitter. Using traditional TV to keep your child docile meant keeping them in a specific room where the television was. But now, you could just hand them an iPad while you work in your office or cook a meal in the kitchen. Tack on the fact that YouTube is free to use while other streaming services or cable all cost money, and YouTube began to be flooded with very young and impressionable viewers as the 2010s rolled on. Creators eventually began to catch on to the fact that the limited amount of child-focused content on YouTube at the time was getting an enormous amount of attention, with some videos even amassing hundreds of millions of views.
Wow.
Obviously, there was potentially a lot of money to be made by making videos aimed towards children, and I'm sure a lot of you know how that turned out. As long as television has been around, there's been an ongoing argument as to what is and isn't okay for children to be watching. Some people say kids should only be consuming educational content, or TV was some sort of moral lesson to teach. Some people think it's not a big deal if children are watching fun, junk foody kind of shows every now and then. Regardless though, whatever is on TV is generally governed by some sort of code of ethics. Broadcasters all have a reputation to uphold, and no category of television gets quite as scrutinized as kids' TV. But on YouTube in the mid-2010s, the only scrutiny children's channels faced was YouTube's then fairly lax moderation system. There was no code of ethics or enforced morality. The only thing that mattered was whether or not you were getting views. As a result, a culture of shocking kids content emerged on YouTube, which you probably already know as Elsagate. Sleazy creators would make videos with popular kids characters like Elsa from Frozen, getting into obscene and often graphically violent situations.
What the fuck?
I probably don't need to tell you much about Elsagate since you almost certainly know what it was about, but simply put, being a young child on YouTube in the mid-2010s meant being confronted with your favorite characters getting their limbs torn off, being injected with mystery chemicals, getting pregnant, and other bizarre and shocking scenarios that only served one purpose: stand out from other creators so your videos get more views and you make more money. Elsagate was a giant controversy, and YouTube would begin to try to mitigate the platform's issues that had caused such a depraved niche to emerge. They'd slowly harden their content moderation system to the point where even saying certain words in a video is enough to get it age restricted and demonetized, as every YouTuber is well aware of. They'd release a completely separate app called YouTube Kids that only contained a more curated selection of channels deemed appropriate for children, which would eventually go on to solely feature human review channels. But most importantly for our story, in 2020, YouTube would give creators the ability to mark their own videos as made for kids. It was clear that many parents were not using YouTube Kids and were still just handing kids iPads with the regular YouTube app. So YouTube made an effort to separate kids content from non-kids content on the full version of YouTube. If you mark your video as made for kids, it disables the comment section, the mini player, targeted advertisements, and changes your video's place in the algorithm. Even if you don't mark your video as made for kids, YouTube will sometimes just automatically do it anyways without your permission if it thinks your video is kid-friendly.
Right. Thanks for that, YouTube.
This automatic moderation doesn't really work very well and can sometimes lead to a very strange array of quote-unquote made-for-kids content. A lot of videos I've covered on this channel have been marked as made for kids, like these stop-motion animations that recreate actual gore videos and often use the original violent audio. And also this channel that features shrink-wrapped body parts, which is probably just an art project, but still not appropriate for children in the slightest. It makes you wonder, what other bizarre videos are out there in the deep expanses of YouTube that have been marked as made for kids and are showing up on children's homepages. That was the original goal of this video. Find some strange and creepy clips marked as made for kids and investigate them like I do in my other videos. But as I started researching, I quickly learned that the world of kids content and children's YouTube accounts is a whole lot more complicated than I initially thought. I mistakenly assumed that I could just set a YouTube account to some sort of restricted mode for children that would only show me content marked as made for kids. But that's not the case at all. Let's start with YouTube Kids. Making an account here is simple. All you need to do is log in with your normal YouTube account and create a kids profile. Like I said before, this is an entirely separate site and only really features human review channels, so you're not going to find much out of the ordinary here. This isn't really what I wanted to cover. I wanted to talk about the Wild West aspect of made for kids content, but we will return to YouTube Kids near the end of the video. Making a kids profile in the main YouTube app is a lot more confusing. Whenever you watch a video that's been marked as made for kids, there used to be a little YouTube Kids disclaimer next to the video description, but that's now been replaced on most videos with a link to this Choices for Families page that explains the different ways you can watch kids content on YouTube. You can either choose between a YouTube Kids profile or a kids account on the full YouTube site, which will supposedly only show you made for kids content. You can apparently set all this up through a family management page on your YouTube settings. When I checked this out, I saw the YouTube Kids profile I set up, and there was also a way to invite a different YouTube account to enter my family group as a supervised member. I assumed that this was how you would set up a kids account on YouTube, but this actually sets up a supervised teen account, which has access to basically everything on YouTube, the only real difference being that your family group manager can see all your activity.
Okay, yo, what the fuck are these ads?
It took a little while to figure this out, as it's really not clear, but to set up a YouTube Kids account, you actually need to make an entirely separate Google account from scratch. In this case, we're going to be making a Google account for our cat Gordy, who's turning 8 years old this year. But we're just gonna say he's 9. Don't tell YouTube. You go through the account creation process, but you have to make sure to select an age under 13. Then I'll prompt you for your parents' email, and from there you can set up a kid's profile. Something interesting here is that you have to press accept on a disclaimer that basically says, we can't fully guarantee that the content your child sees on the platform will be appropriate, which is not something you have to do when signing up for YouTube Kids. You also have to choose a level of content restriction. For the sake of this video, we're going to choose the tightest restriction, which YouTube claims should be suitable for ages 9 and up. Finally, we have a kids YouTube account. You would think that now we should only be able to see content that's been marked as made for kids, right? That's not the case. This is what my homepage looks like. The only search I did was for analog horror, so I assume all the recommendations here are based on that, but the thing is, basically all of these videos are not marked as made for kids. In fact, I've been clicking around for a few minutes and I haven't come across a single made for kids video. There is some filtering happening though. If we look at my channel for example, the only video that's been deemed safe enough for kids is the video I made about the most mysterious song on the internet. Everything else on my channel is gone. If we look at a larger horror creator like Nexpo, nothing of his is available. It would appear that YouTube is more or less completely disregarding the made for kids setting and is instead using some other automatic filtering to mark certain videos and categories as safe for kids, which kind of begs the question, why even have a made for kids toggle if it doesn't do anything? I would say a lot of the channels on the YouTube Kids app have been marked as made for kids, but a surprisingly large amount aren't. Marquez Brownlee and Mr. Beast certainly do not mark
so is
their
it
videos as
channel by channel?
Made for kids, and the majority of gaming channels here aren't made for kids either. It would appear that either you or YouTube marking videos as made for kids basically does nothing except restrict audience interaction on videos and doesn't actually affect a video's actual visibility to real kids. This made for kids setting kind of reeks of a deprecated Google feature, and I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't just get straight up removed in the next couple of years. But let's not get too off track. I started this video to see what inappropriately scary things you can find with a children's YouTube account. So let's take a look. In terms of actual horror creators, like I said, most of us are completely filtered out. But you can still see some creators that edge outside of horror sometimes, like Blame It On George for example, with some of his lost media videos still being viewable. If we look up some horror adjacent topic like liminal spaces for example, it's completely absent here except for a few weird exceptions. Like this 800,000 view video about creepy liminal spaces. Why is this available to watch and not Jaden Salah's liminal space videos? Enough about generic topics though. Let's look up a more recent...
It's definitely super inconsistent.
A kind of controversy to see if our kid's account can actually see stuff that's potentially damaging to a child. If you haven't heard about QCat AI, you should go watch Raymundo's video about it. But in short, there are creators out there using AI image and video generators to make awful shock videos revolving around cats. I don't really want to describe what's being done to these AI pets in these videos, but it's very violent and upsetting. Many of these QCat AI channels have luckily been banned, but it seems like more pop up every day. Like this channel called Cat AI Dreamer. On normal YouTube, we can see horrible, violent thumbnails that are typical of the cute cat AI trend. Let's see if it's any different on our kids' account. While the majority of videos have been filtered out, 20 still remain, which is 20 too many in my eyes. This is pretty disappointing. I know that YouTube makes you accept a disclaimer that states you may encounter inappropriate content while using a kid's account, but the fact that Blame It on George's videos about SpongeBob Lost Media are filtered out, but not AI-generated animal abuse, is just plain absurd. By the way, if you're watching this on Patreon, I'm still censoring out the cat AI stuff. Sorry, but nobody should be seeing that. As awful as this cute cat AI stuff is, there is a reason why it's still visible to kids' accounts on YouTube. If you examine these videos from the viewpoint of the YouTube algorithm rather than just a viewer, there's not a whole lot there to indicate that there's anything amiss about these videos. The descriptions are all ChatGPT nonsense about heartwarming cat videos, and while the titles sometimes can contain questionable keywords, it does make sense how a bot might accidentally categorize this video as safe for kids, even though it very obviously is not. And understanding this shortcoming of YouTube's analysis of metadata pretty much explains how all inappropriate content slips through the cracks. And that kind of brings us to our next topic.
Albion Online is a sandbox MMORPG in which you write your own story instead of following a laid out path.
There's not much I can say about this. I mean, it's kind of just like it's hard for YouTube to create like a sort of algorithm to filter out kids' videos because like there's so many different types of videos. There's new words that generations are creating every single day, like slang words that people don't really understand the meaning of, so it's hard to create an algorithm to filter out certain things. Like the idea of YouTube Kids, in my opinion, is just completely stupid. If they really wanted it to be better, they would have just made it so that you had to be 18 to be on YouTube, or like 13 to be on YouTube, the same way that TikTok does it. So instead of like making an entire new channel for them, like I don't really like the idea of showing anyone under the age of 13 any sort of social media in general. But like making a kids version, I think is just stupid because it's so hard to actually filter out what's safe for kids and what's not.
QCat AI is just one example of an anomaly in the YouTube algorithm. I made an entire video about this, so go check that out if you want to get a deeper understanding, but in short, the algorithm doesn't actually watch videos or understand what the content of a clip is. It only categorizes videos based on titles, descriptions, transcripts, tags, all the metadata that surrounds a video. But if there's something wrong with the metadata, the algorithm can sometimes glitch and put videos in the wrong place. You often see this sort of thing when a video has no metadata except for punctuation or emojis. The algorithm has no way of knowing what the video is about, so it groups it with other videos that also have the same nonsense strings of metadata, creating unnatural niches. This was actually a bit of a trend a few years ago, the most prominent example being people uploading creepy clips with the title full stop punctuation, which is what you would see if you typed in just a period character and hit search. Even more so than QCat AI, almost all of these algorithm anomaly niches are viewable with a kid's account. A lot of these videos are actually pretty mundane in reality. Usually people just put a creepy thumbnail and the actual video is something completely different. Like this video. The thumbnail shows some dark figure crouching in a corner, but the actual video just shows a groundhog yelling on a mountain.
Okay. Okay, What?
Like I said in my full algorithm anomaly video, some people take it a step too far and use actual gore photos from shock sites in their thumbnails.
What?
Which I think is the worst thing we've been able to see so far with a kid's YouTube account. One thing I did not mention in my video though,
okay, this video is kind of canon though, I think every kid needs to watch this,
is that these unnatural niches are not only focused on scary content. If you search for this nonsense group of characters with lip emojis at the end, YouTube will show you a mix of suggestively explicit and Elsa Gate-esque videos. For whatever reason, the search suggestions you get after typing in 3 @ symbols all seem to show you the same weird mix of suggestive content and Elsa Gate brain rot. While I was looking for more algorithm anomalies, I started to notice a weird trend. Whenever I would search for a nonsense string of characters, my search results would always include these playlists with keyboard smash names that were all filled with kids videos. It wasn't just 1 or 2, I could find as many as I wanted as long as I kept searching. The accounts making these playlists are all adult accounts, as kids accounts don't have the ability to make public-facing playlists. You see, to some degree, everything we've talked about so far in this video doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you can find inappropriate and horrifying content with a kid's account on YouTube, because parents are still just handing their kids iPads that are logged into fully fledged adult YouTube accounts. YouTube can do all the moderation they want, but if the app doesn't know that the viewer is a child, then how is it supposed to do anything? The issue here isn't just YouTube doing a bad job of moderating content. A large part of this falls on the parents who aren't putting in any effort to use YouTube's child features, as flaky as they may sometimes be. We were talking about children's television earlier. I think the closest comparison to a parent letting a child use an adult YouTube account without any restrictions would be a kid getting unsupervised access to cable TV, but that's still not nearly as bad. Everything that goes on TV is made by professionals and moderated by humans who want to upkeep the reputation of the broadcasters they're working for, and the more raunchy stuff usually only comes on at night after most kids are fast asleep. YouTube is moderated by an algorithm, and there's no broadcaster reputation to uphold. Anyone can upload anything. The only real consistent thing that keeps creators in check on YouTube is the amount of attention they get, which just incentivizes channels to make more shocking content, like QCat AI. And yeah, the community guidelines can seem overly harsh, but they can also be skirted around pretty easily by just avoiding showing certain things on screen and avoiding saying certain words. The subject matter of a video isn't nearly as much of a factor as you might think. So the moral of the story here is parents should probably just be using the YouTube Kids app, right? Everything there is chosen by humans. Similarly to children's TV, you're not going to find inappropriate content on YouTube Kids, right? Well, what's the definition of inappropriate content? If you actually take a closer look at what's available to watch on YouTube Kids, it'll probably make you think
it's
twice.
just like AI slop. Like, you shouldn't be sure. Like, you can't possibly look at this as a parent and think, yeah, my kid should watch any of this. Like, this is all just like brain rot.
It's about putting it in front of your child. Do you really want your kid watching videos like stalker escapes from jail, what happens next will shock you?
And authorities are searching for an inmate that escaped prison on foot Thursday night via the courtyard fence. The Sacramento police
what the fuck?
said Dave Gingras escaped the Somerville Detention Center where he had been incarcerated.
Like, obviously this is fake, but a child would totally think this is real.
Since last winter, Gingras escaped the prison during an outing to the outdoor courtyard at around 8:30 p.m. Officers say he
What even
somehow
is
breached the
this?
fence on the
Human curated or not, a lot of the content on YouTube Kids is bottom of the barrel, low effort brain rot. Maybe it's not inappropriate in the sense that it's too adult or too shocking or anything that can be considered horror, but it's still just garbage. Like, do you really want your kid watching Hamster and Roller Coaster Maelstrom with a shark? You know what? I changed my mind. This is based.
No,
This
the
video
fuck,
really
it's
didn't
not.
turn out like I thought it would. I genuinely thought that we'd just be looking at creepy videos that were marked as made for kids and talking about some Elsagate kind of stuff, but there's just so much more wrong with kids content on YouTube in general. I think if there's any moral to this story, it's that you probably shouldn't be showing your kids YouTube at all. Why not put on PBS Kids instead? It's a 100% free app and it's got infinitely better kids content than what you're going to find on YouTube. It requires very little effort to download an extra app, and who knows what change it might make for your kid. You might have noticed that the music in this video is different than in my previous videos. That's because I just made an entirely new album of ambient music that's going to be kind of like the 2025 Pharrell Maguire soundtrack. It's called Living One, and you can find it on every major streaming service. I'll pin a comment below with a link if you guys want to check it out.
Yeah, that was a super good video. I just don't think giving your kid like an iPad at all is a good idea. I don't think kids should have any sort of social media until they're at least 13. I mean, like, I had social media, I think, when I was 10, but that was also when, like, we didn't know things about social media and what it caused on children. Like, it was still kind of early. But I don't think children should have social media at all, because it's just so, it's so degrading in a sense, because there's so many things that you see on social media that's like it's the definition of picture perfect. Like, you post things on social media that people won't criticize you for, right? So everything that everyone is seeing on social media is the absolute perfect version of yourself. And I think that creates a pretty fucked up image of life, especially for children who are still developing. I just don't think that you should give your kid any sort of social media before the age of at least 13, because it's just a terrible idea. Let's move on to the next video. The craziest philosophical theories explained in 14 minutes. This one's going to be interesting.
Boltzmann brain is a thought experiment that suggests that given enough time, a self-aware brain could randomly form in the universe due to quantum fluctuations. This hypothetical brain would have memories and perceptions of really living in a structured reality, even though it is just a temporary, random occurrence in a chaotic universe. This theory asks if it's more likely for the universe to exist, with all its complexity, or for a single brain with false memories to appear randomly. If the latter is more probable, it implies that everything you experience might just be a brief hallucination by a Boltzmann brain. Solipsism. Solipsism is the idea.
What?
That only your own mind can be known for sure to exist. According to this theory, the outside world, other people, objects, and events cannot be definitely proven to exist beyond your own perception. This is because all experiences are subjective, meaning they are understood through your individual mind. So while you may see and interact with the world, solipsism questions if the world actually exists on its own, or if it's all just created by your mind. You have no way to know. The teletransportation paradox. The teletransportation paradox is a thought experiment that explores the implications of teleportation and identity. Imagine a teleportation device that scans a person's entire body and mind, mapping every atom and neural connection. The device then transmits this information to another location, where a new, identical body is constructed, perfectly replicating the original person, including their memories and personality. The paradox arises when considering what happens during this process. Is the person who arrives at the destination the same individual who entered the teleportation machine? If the original person is disassembled at the point of departure, is that person effectively killed? If so, then the new person created at the destination, while identical in every way, is technically a different individual. The egg theory. The egg theory is a thought experiment.
Oh, this is one that people will not shut the fuck up about on TikTok.
Technically a different individual. The egg theory. The egg theory is a thought experiment that suggests that every person who has ever lived or ever will live is actually
Introducing Grammarly, like you've never seen before. Your all-in-one writing essential. Recycling is great for bottles, not borrowed sentences. Grammarly's plagiarism.
The same being, experiencing life in different forms and at different times. The theory proposes that when a person dies, they are reincarnated as another person without any memory of their previous lives. This process continues until that being has lived every human life in existence. According to the theory, the universe exists as an egg, a place for this single being to grow and mature through the experience of living many lives. Once all lives have been lived, the individual reaches a higher state of consciousness and becomes like a god, completing their spiritual evolution. Just as the universe, in this theory, is designed for growth and evolution, so too is every business. In my opinion, you can't really manage to do so efficiently without today's sponsor, Odoo. Odoo is a business management software that includes every app you'll need for your business, serving as your one-stop shop for everything: accounting, inventory, sales, invoicing, electronic signatures, management, point of sale, customer relationship management, and much more. Not only is it incredible that you get all of this for as low as $24.90, which is what you typically pay for just one of the tools Odoo offers, while Odoo gives you everything else, but it's also amazing how easy and customizable it is. If that weren't enough, they even let you build a modern website in just a few clicks, completely free, including hosting and support. You don't even need to know how to code. It's literally drag and drop. You can even get a custom domain name. Every aspect of your business into a single software. Just think about how scattered everything would be without it. You'd not only have the omnipotence paradox. The omnipotence paradox is a thought experiment that challenges the concept of omnipotence, or unlimited power. It asks whether an all-powerful being like God could create a stone so heavy that even they cannot lift it. The dilemma arises because both possible answers seem to limit the being's power. If the being can create the stone, they cannot lift it, which means there's something they cannot do. This implies a limit to their power, contradicting the idea of being all-powerful. On the other hand, if they cannot create such a stone, this also indicates a limitation, as they are unable to do something that should be within the scope of omnipotence. But God might be over logic itself. Or one might say that by omnipotent, we mean a being that can do anything that is logically possible. Being all-powerful doesn't mean doing logically impossible things like creating a square circle. It means having power over everything that exists. Logical impossibilities, like a square circle, aren't real things that can exist, so it remains just a cool debunked thought experiment. Antinatalism. Antinatalism is a philosophical position that argues against giving birth, suggesting that it is morally wrong to bring new individuals into existence because life itself inherently involves suffering, pain, and hardship. So it is better not to create new lives that will inevitably face these challenges.
I think that's stupid.
One key argument in antinatalism is that coming into existence exposes individuals to more suffering than joy, making it not worth it. Additionally, some antinatalists point out the environmental and ethical implications of overpopulation, arguing that it contributes to suffering not just for individuals, but for society as a whole and the planet. You are not free. This theory about the absence of free will from human life suggests that individuals have the ability to make choices and take actions based on their desires. However, they do not have the ability to control the will behind any of their actions, thus making them a slave to their own desires. In order to prove this theory, the following thought experiment is proposed. If you're deciding between which ice cream flavor to pick, chocolate or vanilla, and end up deciding that you genuinely want chocolate, there is absolutely nothing you could do in that situation to change that desire, unless an external factor that you also cannot control is involved, such as finding out that vanilla ice cream is cheaper or that it's not as unhealthy. This shows that the only way for you to do anything is by wanting to do it, which we already determined you cannot control, or by being forced to do it, which you obviously cannot control either, thus proving that free will does not exist. Ship of Theseus. The Ship of Theseus is a philosophical thought experiment that questions the nature of identity and change. It begins with a ship owned by the hero Theseus, and over time, as the ship sails, its wooden parts decay and are replaced with new ones. Eventually, every original part is replaced, which leads to the central question: is the fully restored ship still the Ship of Theseus? To complicate matters, suppose the original parts are gathered and reassembled into a ship. Now, there are two ships, one composed entirely of new materials, and one made of the original components. This scenario showcases how definitions are artificial and not as stable as we think. Does the ship retain its identity despite having all its parts replaced? Which ship is the true Ship of Theseus? Ethical egoism. Ethical egoism is the philosophical theory that individuals should always act in their own self-interest and have no regard for the consequences of their actions on others. This theory asserts that actions are only morally right if they benefit the individual performing them, emphasizing that values like sympathy and altruism were an idea constructed by weak individuals who could not assert themselves in society, so they had to make up an entire moral system to justify their incompetence. Ethical egoism argues that, like all other animals, we have a deep desire to secure our own survival, and we should not deny it or act against it, as it would be unnatural and damaging to do so. Furthermore, ethical egoists argue that by pursuing their own goals, individuals may also contribute positively to society, as their actions can lead to overall better outcomes for other people as well. Rocco's basilisk. Rocco's Basilisk is a thought experiment suggesting that a future artificial superintelligence could be motivated to punish or torture individuals who knew about the possibility of its existence but did not actively help in bringing it into reality. The purpose of this punishment would be to incentivize people to support its development. Essentially, the AI might create virtual simulations where those who fail to assist in its creation are tortured. Esse est percipi. It means that everything only.
What would you tell someone who knows exactly
Dude,
what to do
like,
but can't make themselves?
This stuff is just making me think. I don't know what to say about it.
And it's not late.
Exists if it's being perceived. For example, if you sit on a chair and stand up without looking at the chair has ceased to exist. Quantum immortality. Quantum immortality is a thought experiment stemming from the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. This theory suggests that a conscious being cannot experience their own death because there exist alternate realities where they continue to survive. The core concept proposes that every decision or event creates multiple branches of reality. In life-threatening situations, there will always be at least one version of reality where the individual survives. Therefore, when faced with danger, the individual's consciousness only perceives outcomes in which they remain alive. As a result, quantum immortality implies that individuals would perceive themselves as immortal as they can never experience their own death. Philosophical zombies. Philosophical zombies are hypothetical beings that look and act like humans but lack conscious experience. These beings behave exactly as humans do, but
I've interacted with these people before.
They have no inner life, no subjective feelings or thoughts. The thought experiment challenges materialism, which holds that consciousness can be fully explained by physical processes in the brain. If it's possible to imagine a being that is physically identical to a human but lacks consciousness, then consciousness might not be fully explained by physical states. Zeno's paradoxes. Zeno's paradoxes are a set of thought experiments from the Greek philosopher Zeno, who used them to argue that motion is impossible, or at least not what it seems. The most famous paradox is Achilles and the tortoise, which highlights the problems that come up when we think about dividing things into infinitely small parts. In this example, Achilles, a fast runner, is racing a tortoise, which is much slower. To make it fair, the tortoise starts ahead. Zeno argued that Achilles can never actually catch up to the tortoise because every time he reaches the point where the tortoise has moved a little bit further ahead. Imagine walking towards a destination. To reach it, you'd first have to walk halfway there, and to walk halfway there, you'd first have to walk a quarter of the way there, and so on, creating an infinite number of steps and causing you not to be able to reach your destination. Problem of induction. The problem of induction, introduced by David Hume, questions how we can justify our belief that the future will resemble the past. For example, we expect the sun to rise tomorrow because it has risen every day before. However, Hume pointed out that there's no logical guarantee this will always happen. Just because something has occurred many times doesn't mean it will continue to do so. Any justification for this assumption relies on past experiences, which is circular reasoning. If we say that we trust induction because it has worked in the past, we are using induction to justify induction. This means that our reliance on patterns in the world is based more on habit than on solid logical grounds. The experience machine. The experience machine is a thought experiment proposed by philosopher Robert Nozick to challenge the idea that pleasure and happiness are the only things that matter in life. In this scenario, imagine a machine that can provide you with any experience you desire. You could feel immense joy, love, success, or any other pleasurable sensation, all while being completely unaware that these
just you, building your app on base 44.
Experiences are simulated. Nozick asks whether you would choose to plug into this machine for the rest of your life. Many people intuitively reject the idea of living in the experience machine, preferring real life with its struggles and hardships over an artificial existence filled with pleasure. This rejection suggests that there are values beyond mere pleasure, such as authenticity, relationships, and the pursuit of genuine achievements.
Yeah, the idea of immortality is stupid, and the fact that there's people who actually wish to achieve immortality is the dumbest thing ever. Because the fact that we are mortal is what makes life so unique and incredible. And to think that, like, to be immortal is so, like, it's crippling. Like, if you think about immortality, like, it's terrifying. Like, you have to watch everyone you love die before you. And then you have to also watch the end of the world. Then you're just in space, floating around for all of eternity, and then you actually just go insane. Like, you're in space for all of eternity. What then? Like, that's what you wanted? You wanted immortality. Like, it's just not, like, the idea of immortality is so stupid. Us being mortal is what makes life so, like, beautiful.
Moral anti-realism. Moral anti-realism is the philosophical view that there are no objective moral truths or values independent of human beliefs and opinions. According to this perspective, moral statements do not describe facts about the world, but are instead expressions of our attitudes or preferences. For example, if someone says, killing people is wrong, a moral anti-realist would argue that this statement doesn't reflect an absolute truth. Instead, it expresses a social consensus or a personal belief. The idea is that actions like killing are not inherently good or bad. Rather, we label them as such based on cultural norms, societal agreements, or individual feelings. The paradox of tolerance. The paradox of tolerance, created by philosopher Karl Popper, examines the limits of a tolerant society. Popper argues that a truly tolerant society should not tolerate intolerance, because if a society extends tolerance to those who are intolerant, it risks allowing intolerant groups to gain power and suppress the very freedoms that enable a tolerant environment. For example, if a tolerant society allows hateful ideologies to flourish, those ideologies could undermine the rights and freedoms of others, which creates a dilemma. If a society tolerates all viewpoints, including those that advocate for intolerance or violence, it may ultimately lead to the destruction of tolerance itself. Popper suggests that in order to maintain a tolerant society, it is necessary to take a stand against intolerant beliefs and actions, even if this means limiting the freedom of those who follow them. The knowledge argument. The knowledge argument, often illustrated by the thought experiment known as Mary's Room, was proposed by philosopher Frank Jackson, who created a scenario in which a girl named Mary is a brilliant neuroscientist who knows everything there is to know about the physical aspects of color, but she lives in a black and white room and has never experienced color herself. One day, Mary leaves her room and sees a red apple for the first time. The knowledge argument poses the question, does Mary learn something new about color when she sees the apple? Jackson argues that she does, because although Mary had all the scientific knowledge about how color perception works, her experience of seeing color for the first time provides her with new information that she could not have known while confined to the black and white room. This thought experiment suggests that there are non-physical aspects of knowledge, specifically the subjective experiences of perception. The infinite monkey theorem. The infinite monkey theorem is a thought experiment that suggests that given an infinite amount of time, a monkey randomly pressing keys on a typewriter or keyboard would eventually type out any given text, such as the complete works of William Shakespeare, helping to understand how long infinity really is. If you want to discuss this video or suggest an idea for the next one, join my Discord.
Yeah, those are all really interesting, but they're too smart for me, so I didn't really know what to say about it. But let's, I'm sure it was a good video. Let's move on to the next one. Six disturbing unsolved cases with video footage. So we're gonna try and solve them as we go, if we can. I think they're all sectioned out. Yeah, they are. So they're all in separate sections. So we're gonna try and figure it out.
On the 11th of May,
we're gonna theorize a little bit.
6-year-old Timothy Pitson left his school in Aurora, Illinois with his mother, Amy. Amy had shown up at the school unexpectedly, telling the staff that there was a family emergency. Timothy's teachers were caught off guard, as something seemed to be severely off with Amy, but they let Timothy go with his mother, figuring everything was going to be...
Alright, right off the bat, let's think. I don't think the mom did anything, but I do think that someone got the mom to pick up the kid, like a ransom kind of shit, like he had something on her, or so, like something like that. Like she needed something from this person, or not needed, but like he was blackmailing her to go get her son. But I don't think it was the mom.
Okay, these are some of the most disturbing unsolved cases with video footage. As they drove away from the school, Timothy was excited. He loved spending time with his mother, and they were heading out on what seemed like a special adventure. Amy took him to a zoo, then a water park. It felt like a mini holiday, and a chance to have some fun together, just the two of them. They checked into hotels along the way, and at each stop, Amy made sure they had fun. Still, to Timothy, it was probably just an exciting trip with his mum. But there were signs that things weren't as simple as they seemed. Amy wasn't just taking a break, she was avoiding contact with Timothy Timothy's dad and other family members. She would call them every now and again, always sounding upbeat, but she never let Timothy talk to anyone. She'd say, "He's fine, he's having fun," but never gave him the phone. When she called her husband, she told him not to worry and that they were fine, in a very cheerful tone. But still, the phone calls left the family uneasy. Why wouldn't she let Timothy speak? The two kept moving from place to place. They stayed in a couple different hotels, moving further and further away.
Maybe the mom is insane. I don't know.
Away from home. Amy was seen on hotel security cameras, and people who saw them said that Timothy looked happy, completely unaware that anything was about to happen. At one point, Amy visited a hardware store where she bought a few items that didn't seem to fit with a road trip. She purchased small things like a notebook and a pen, things that just felt out of place. Amy seemed to be stalling, like she was trying to gain time, though no one knew for what. The choices she made only added to the mystery. Every call to her family sounded upbeat, yet the details made them anxious. Why did she seem so cheerful but refuse to explain what she was doing or let Timothy talk? Amy also checked into a hotel without Timothy for one night, a strange move that raised even more questions.
Brother, these ads are unbelievable.
Make your browser fast.
Oh my gosh, there's two? Jesus.
Make your browser safe.
Why would she go to a hotel by herself when Timothy was still with her? And where did she leave the 6-year-old? These unexplained decisions kept building up, leaving her family more worried with each passing
what
day.
the hell?
When Amy made her last call to her mother-in-law, she sounded calm. She
Last
told
call?
her that everything was going smoothly and she shouldn't worry about anything. But this time, her mother-in-law pressed her, asking directly to speak with Timothy. Though once again, Amy refused. This time, her excuse was simple. He's busy playing. Her voice was light-hearted, but there was something strange about her tone, as if she was masking something deeper. On the 14th of May 2011, Amy checked into a motel in Rockford, Illinois. By then, she and Timothy had been on the road for 3 days. That evening, Amy was spotted on security cameras one last time, and she entered her room alone. Timothy was nowhere to be seen. The next day, motel staff found Amy dead in her room, as she had ended her own life. It was a devastating discovery, but the shock didn't end there. Next to Amy's body, police found a note she had written, a message that only deepened the mystery. In her handwriting, Amy explained that Timothy was safe, but added something haunting. You will never find him. But there was something else in the note that left Timothy's family and investigators terrified. Amy also wrote, Timothy is safe with people who will care for him. This message seemed to suggest that she had left Timothy with someone she trusted, someone who could take care of him. But who were these people? And did they even exist? The note left Timothy's family in disbelief. Amy had assured everyone that they were fine, but now she was gone and Timothy was nowhere to be found. As the police combed through her car, they discovered traces of blood on the seat. They immediately tested it, and it was confirmed to be Timothy's. This finding raised new fears and new questions, as everyone was wondering what had really happened to Timothy. Was he in danger, or had he somehow been left in a safe place as Amy claimed? Investigators were caught between two possibilities.
No, it sounded like she was implying like heaven as a safe place.
Amy had hidden him somewhere to protect him, or something much darker had occurred. Right after Amy's death, police launched an extensive search for Timothy. They retraced every step of her journey, hoping to uncover any clue that might lead them to him. Authorities examined maps, reviewed Amy's GPS records, and revisited every hotel and location she and Timothy had visited during those final days together. And they pored over surveillance footage, hoping to spot a moment, a clue, anything that could reveal where Amy had taken Timothy. As the search continued, investigators found more strange details. Amy's car showed signs that it had been through dirt roads and grassy areas. It was clear that she had probably been in remote locations, likely far away from any city or town. But where exactly? Search teams combed through forests, parks, and even isolated areas that matched the clues left by the dirt and plants found on her car. Yet despite these massive efforts, Timothy was nowhere to be seen. Meanwhile, the story of Timothy's disappearance began to spread across the country. News stations picked up the story, broadcasting pictures of Timothy with his bright smile and innocent eyes. His face appeared everywhere, on television, in newspapers, and on missing person posters. The public was captivated by the mystery, and as more details emerged about Amy's final days, people began forming their own theories. Timothy's father, Jim Pitson, became the face of the family's heartbreak and hope. Appearing on news interviews, he spoke openly about the pain of losing Amy and the agony of not knowing where his son was, though he still believed, as Amy's note had said, that Timothy truly was safe somewhere. The general reaction to the case was mixed. Some people sympathized with Jim and clung on to the idea that Timothy was still alive, somewhere out there. They rallied for his
I don't think he
return,
is.
joining search parties, volunteering, and spreading Timothy's story online. Others, however, began to question Amy's actions and whether her words in the note could be trusted. They speculated that her final message was meant to mislead, and some even believed that Timothy might never be found because he was no longer alive. Then, in 2019, 8 years after Timothy's disappearance, the case took a very unexpected twist. A young man appeared claiming to be Timothy Pitson, saying he had finally escaped his captors after years of being held against his will. For a brief moment, hope flooded back. Jim and his family were overwhelmed with emotion, believing that Timothy might be finally returning home. But that hope was crushed just as quickly as it appeared, as DNA tests revealed that the young man was not Timothy. He was in fact someone else entirely, a random, troubled person looking for a way out of their own life. Despite the disappointment, Timothy's case remains active. Law enforcement has refused to close it, and his family holds onto the hope that he's still out there. Timothy's disappearance has become one of America's most famous and confusing mysteries. Some still theorize that Amy may have had help, that maybe someone else was involved in Timothy's disappearance.
Men don't doom scroll, masturbate, drink, and smoke because they're lazy. They do it because their overstimulated brain is starving.
What?
He says he's
okay,
fine,
genuinely, what is this ad?
Which could help to explain the times that Amy was alone checking into the hotels. The idea is based partly on her note, where she mentioned Timothy being with people who would care for him, though to this day, there's no evidence supporting this theory. But the idea that Timothy might still be out there, hidden with someone who knows the truth, keeps the mystery alive.
You can't give up hope. As soon as you give up hope, then what should I do? What, declare him dead? He's probably in the middle of nowhere, being homeschooled someplace, you know, just away from the media and TVs and new technology.
No,
it was
he's
still
not.
dark.
I have a theory. She was in a cult, and her family wasn't supportive of the cult. But the cult told her in order to be free from mortal life, she has to sacrifice herself. And in order to have her son free from mortal life, she also has to sacrifice him. I think she got manipulated. I think that's what it is.
In Midlothian, Texas.
That's definitely not what it is, but that's
18th
fine.
of April 2016. For 45-year-old Terry Missy Bevers, a fitness instructor and mother of 3, this was a normal time to be up and ready. She was dedicated to her fitness classes, regularly teaching early morning sessions. She had a class scheduled at Creekside Church of Christ that day, and she was known for showing up early to set everything up. Around 4:20 a.m., Missy entered the church. Her head...
Alright, I mean, come on. You gotta do it for that. What are the odds? What are the odds? 2?
Lights briefly illuminating the parking lot before going dark. With her workout equipment and supplies in hand, she made her way inside, likely unaware of the danger that awaited her. What she didn't know was that someone had already broken in. Hours before Missy arrived, Creekside Church had been empty, but by 3:50 a.m., a figure had appeared inside, roaming the halls in a way that would later raise unsettling questions. Security cameras captured the footage of this person, someone whose actions seemed more bizarre than purposeful. The intruder was dressed head to toe in SWAT-style tactical gear, including a helmet, vest, and gloves, all of which concealed their identity. Obviously, this wasn't ordinary clothing, especially for someone committing a crime, and it was something that law enforcement would later struggle to explain, as they couldn't figure out if it was merely just a disguise or some sort of message. As the figure moved through the church, their actions were equally strange. Instead of heading directly to an office, a safe, or any obvious target, the person walked around, opening doors, checking rooms, and tapping on walls. Their pace was calm, almost wondering, as if they had all the time in the world, as it didn't seem like they were searching for anything specific. Instead, it felt as though they were just waiting. The security footage further showed this person pausing here and there, standing silently, before moving again. It was this slow, almost detached movement that would later haunt viewers. And in one of the stranger aspects caught on the camera was the fact that the figure seemed to even stagger slightly, as they walked very clumsily, as it looks as if they could be unfamiliar with the layout of the church, or they're in some kind of daze. At around 4:20 a.m., just as Missy entered the church, the camera footage ended. To this day, it's unclear exactly how much time passed between Missy walking into the church and her encounter with the intruder, but what is known is that Missy was soon to be found dead, her body discovered by her students who arrived for class a short time later. The scene that they would walk into was shocking. Missy had suffered multiple injuries that was believed to have been inflicted by a hammer that was left near her body. After her death, the investigators turned to Creekside Church's security cameras, hoping they held the clues that could identify Missy's killer. What detectives found is that the footage raised far more questions than it answered. Like, as the figure moved throughout the church, they would also periodically break certain objects and shatter glass, leading the police to believe that the person was trying to stage some sort of robbery gone wrong, though that theory would make little sense when you consider that the robber neglected to take Missy's purse or iPad. Also, why had they chosen a church of all places, and what was the motive? If this was a robbery, it was certainly an unusual one. After the discovery of Missy's body at Creekside Church, Midlothian police faced a daunting task. Because there was just so little to go off, the detectives involved started watching the footage over and over again to find the tiniest of details, which then made them notice the killer's strange gait or walking style, as they seemed to move with a slight clumsiness, as if they were wearing shoes too big or simply had a very distinct walk. Internet detectives then started comparing the walk to those around Missy, and if you line up the videos of the SWAT-geared intruder with those of her father, they do look eerily similar.
Her father? What?
Evidence, if you can even call it that, is extremely weak and is a symptom of the case being so mysterious and confusing. The police themselves initially thought that the intruder could be female, as the walk looked as if the person was wearing clothes too big or too heavy, though again, this theory led nowhere. As detectives continued analyzing the footage, they turned to Missy's family, friends, and acquaintances, hoping to uncover any motive or clue that could point them towards a suspect. They asked about Missy's relationships, any recent conflicts, and her schedule, searching for anything that might explain why someone would target her. Missy's husband, Brandon, her 3 children, and her close friends all cooperated fully, sharing information about Missy's life and any challenges she might have been facing. According to her loved ones, Missy was well liked, devoted to her family, and passionate about her work as a fitness instructor. However, some friends mentioned that Missy had recently expressed concerns about strange social media messages she had received. These messages on LinkedIn reportedly came from an unknown male and were described as creepy and strange. The police would track down this person of interest, though it would ultimately turn out to be a dead end. Detectives documented everything they had learned, yet no single piece of information pointed directly towards a clear suspect. To this day, Terry Missy Bever's case has gone completely unsolved.
I have absolutely no fucking idea. I got it. A massive coke dealer in the area had to steer attention away from his operation, so he decided to mysteriously erase someone from existence so that all of the attention would go to that instead of his coke dealing. I got it. I'm a genius.
Alyssa Turney
It's just that
was
easy.
a typical 17-year-old high school junior living in Phoenix, Arizona, with her father, Michael Turney, and half-sister Sarah.
Ooh.
Like most teenagers, she had a part-time job, friends,
I think
and
it's the
dreams
father.
for the future. But on the 17th of May 2001, everything changed. That was the day Alyssa vanished without a trace, and the mystery of her disappearance would leave her family and community searching for answers for years to come. It was the last day of school, and Alyssa was looking forward to summer break. She and her friends had made plans to celebrate, and it seemed like a typical start to what should have been a carefree summer. But what happened that afternoon has been clouded by strange details, some coming from her father Michael himself, who was the last person to ever see her. According to Michael, he picked up Alyssa from Paradise Valley High School around lunchtime. He claimed that they went out for a bite to eat at a local restaurant, and then, once they returned home, they had a heated argument. Michael would later tell the police that Alyssa stormed off, shouting that she was leaving and heading to California to live with her biological aunt. To back this story, Michael claimed he found a note from Alyssa in her room, saying basically exactly what she was saying in the argument, that she was running away. The note, written in Alyssa's handwriting, didn't sit right with Alyssa's friends and family.
Immediately, I think boyfriend. Ran away with boyfriend and then boyfriend killed her.
For one, none of her belongings, like her phone or purse, were missing.
But it's a boyfriend that the dad doesn't know about.
If Alyssa truly intended to run away, why would she leave behind everything she'd need? And why didn't she tell any of her close friends about her plans? Initially, authorities treated Alyssa as a runaway, believing that she might have truly gone to California or was still somewhere nearby in the Phoenix area. However, doubt started to arise when the $1,800 in her bank account was left completely untouched, and she failed to contact any of her friends and family. As police started to investigate further, they discovered something odd. Michael had been tracking Alyssa's movements in ways that went beyond what many see as protective. In fact, he seemed to have an unusual level of control over her life. At her job, Alyssa's co-workers noticed Michael would occasionally appear unannounced, sometimes with a video camera. In one instance, he secretly recorded his daughter's interactions with customers, co-workers, and friends, claiming it was to ensure her safety. But there was no clear reason why he would have to monitor her like this. These recordings weren't limited to her workplace either. Michael had even installed surveillance devices around their home, and one of the most disturbing details was the discovery of hidden recording devices in the family's living room. It's unknown.
What the fuck? I was not expecting that at all.
How often Michael reviewed these recordings, but it was clear he had an intense need to keep tabs on Alyssa's actions.
Oh, no, the dad did it, okay.
And conversations. This kind of behavior extended into nearly every aspect of Alyssa's life. Michael kept strict control over her social life, reportedly screening her phone calls and limiting her time with friends. Alyssa's friends recalled that Michael seemed overly protective and suspicious, making her feel uncomfortable and trapped. They reported that Alyssa felt she couldn't do anything without her father knowing, and over time, she grew increasingly resentful of his intense surveillance. For any teenager, this level of control would have felt suffocating. Though it gets much more worrying. When the police were taking statements from those who knew Alyssa to try and find any leads revolving her disappearance, one of her close friends, her boyfriend, and her stepbrother all independently shared stories that they had heard from Alyssa, all involving Michael attempting to illegally and inappropriately touch his daughter. In one instance, Alyssa's stepbrother said that during a car ride, Michael scooted closer to Alyssa and then tried to touch her in ways that would certainly get him arrested if anyone had reported it. Speaking of which, Michael
I was right in the first time.
Child Protective Services to warn them that if Alyssa was to ever call them to accuse him of touching her strangely, that she's a liar. A very normal thing for a loving father to do. Then somehow the strangeness continues. Michael was fixated on a very particular incident involving Alyssa. He frequently brought up the claim that years prior, Alyssa had been assaulted by a teacher. Michael often told people he believed this incident deeply affected her, yet there was no concrete evidence of it ever happening. Interestingly, Michael's account of the incident
is there ever concrete evidence of that happening?
For investigators to verify. Alyssa's close friends noted that she had never mentioned this supposed assault, and many doubted it ever happened. Michael, however, used this story as a justification for his extreme protectiveness, insisting that he was simply trying to shield Alyssa from further harm. Then there was the matter of Alyssa's aunt. When the police followed up, they learned that Alyssa's aunt in California hadn't heard from her and wasn't expecting her to come. This detail obviously threw more doubt on Michael's story. If Alyssa had indeed intended to run away, why hadn't she contacted the aunt that she was supposedly going to stay with? To the police, Alyssa's disappearance started looking less like a runaway case and more like a mystery. But without clear evidence of any sort of crime taking place, the case stalled. One of the most unsettling details about Alyssa's case is that her disappearance disappearances marked by a quiet inaction from Michael himself. Normally, parents of missing children are frantic, calling every friend and visiting every place they can think of to find their child. But Michael didn't seem to do any of that. Instead, he waited 5 days after Alyssa vanished to report her missing. For many, this delayed response obviously raised
he did it. He
When
did it
asked
for
why
sure.
He waited. Michael claimed that he thought Alyssa would return home once she had cooled off, insisting that she was just a rebellious teen who had run away in the heat of the moment. After years of frustration, doubt, and silence, one voice would rise above the uncertainty surrounding Alyssa Turney's disappearance: her younger sister, Sarah. Driven by a desire to know what really happened, Sarah Turney became the leading force behind Alyssa's case, refusing to let her sister's story fade. For years, she struggled to understand what had happened and to reconcile the loss of her sister with the vague and suspicious stories told by her stepdad, Michael. As Sarah grew older, her curiosity deepened. She began questioning the details surrounding Alyssa's disappearance and eventually recognized the inconsistencies in the story that Michael had shared with her over the years. While police had long classified Alyssa's case as a runaway situation, Sarah began to suspect that it was something far more sinister. At first, Sarah tried addressing her concerns within her family. She asked Michael directly about what had happened and pushed for answers. Michael insisted that Alyssa had simply left, that she had run away and wanted nothing to do with them anymore. Yet Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more to the story. And
Yeah, dude, I think it was the dad. I think it was the dad for sure. He just knew how to dispose of the body, so they couldn't find anything.
Stepdad might be hiding something crucial. Sarah also reached out to law enforcement, hoping they could reopen the case. But with no new evidence, and Alyssa's status officially labeled as a runaway, the police weren't able to provide much assistance. Despite these roadblocks, Sarah continued her quest, refusing to accept that her sister's case would remain unsolved. Frustrated by the lack of progress, Sarah took matters into her own hands and turned to social media. She started sharing Alyssa's story online, using every platform available to spread awareness and gain support. Over time, her posts began to capture attention, and Sarah's online presence grew. But it wasn't until she joined TikTok that her fight for justice truly gained momentum. On TikTok, Sarah adopted a very direct and honest approach. She very openly talked about her suspicions of Michael, as well as her struggle to keep the case alive. Sarah wasn't afraid in the slightest to speak out against her own stepdad, publicly declaring that she believed he was responsible for Alyssa's disappearance. Her boldness was both risky and shocking, but it was effective on TikTok as viewers admired her courage to speak out, even when it meant accusing a family member. After years of uncertainty and years of advocacy from Sarah, the investigation into Alyssa's disappearance took a significant turn. In August 2020, nearly 2 decades after Alyssa was last seen, police arrested her stepfather, Michael Turney, charging him with second-degree murder. Investigators pieced together patterns of Michael's controlling behavior, leading to the decision to formally reopen the case and charge him. The second-degree murder charge against Michael Turney indicated that the authorities believed he had killed Alyssa without premeditation. However, the lack of any direct physical evidence linking Michael to Alyssa's disappearance posed a significant challenge for the prosecution. Despite these hurdles, Sarah and her supporters remained hopeful that the circumstantial evidence and Michael's own actions would lead to a conviction. In July 2023, Michael Turney's trial commenced. After 6 days of testimony, the defense filed a motion for an acquittal, arguing that the prosecution had not presented substantial evidence to support a conviction. The judge agreed, citing the absence of physical evidence proving Alyssa's death or Michael's involvement, and acquitted Michael of all charges. He was released from custody on July 18th, 2023. Following his release, Michael Turney took legal action against local officials. In January of 2024, he filed a lawsuit against the Phoenix Police Department, as Michael alleged he was mistreated during his time in custody, claiming he was denied adequate health care and meals, and asserted he was wrongfully imprisoned. As of today, the case of Alyssa Turney has gone completely cold.
Lame.
If Alyssa's out there, any message for her?
Same message I've always tried to give it.
Which is?
I love her.
You want her to come home?
Obviously so.
Nope.
The Mediterranean diet
No,
is the
he
world's
does
healthiest
not.
diet. And
No, he
makes it
doesn't.
easy to eat that way every day.
He is so obviously lying.
The holiday of a lifetime, a Caribbean cruise, warm beaches, and the endless blue of the open sea. Amy Lynn Bradley, a 23-year-old recent college graduate from Virginia, was thrilled about the trip. Traveling with her family, she boarded the Royal Caribbean cruise ship Rhapsody of the Seas on March 21st, 1998. Amy was excited, but also a little bit nervous. Friends and family said she wasn't exactly the cruise type. Amy was athletic, outgoing, and independent, but she had a fear of open water, which made the cruise ship a bit of a leap outside her comfort zone. The night of March 23rd should have been just like any other night on the cruise ship. The family enjoyed dinner, and Amy later went to a nightclub on the ship with her brother Brad. The siblings had a fun night, dancing and chatting with the other passengers, and in a video taken that night, Amy looked happy and carefree. Around 3:30 a.m., Brad left the club to go to bed, and Amy told him she'd be right behind him. This was the last confirmed sighting of Amy by her family. Early next morning, things took a shocking turn. Around 5:30 a.m., Amy's father, Ron Bradley, woke up in their shared cabin. He noticed that Amy wasn't in her bed, which immediately set off the alarms in his head. It was strange for Amy to be up that early, especially since they'd been out late the night before. Ron initially assumed she might have gone up to the deck to watch the sunrise, and he figured she'd be back soon. But as the minutes passed and Amy didn't return, Ron's concern grew. He searched around the ship looking for any sign of his daughter, as he checked the common areas, the decks, and even went to the ship's dining area, but there was no trace of Amy. Feeling increasingly desperate, he woke up the rest of the family. They searched for her together, hoping to find her asleep somewhere else or chatting with a friend, but Amy was nowhere to be found. By 6 a.m., the family reported Amy's disappearance to the ship's crew. At first, the crew didn't seem as worried as the Bradleys were.
So is she off the ship now?
They suggested that maybe Amy had gone for a swim, fallen asleep somewhere, or even gone ashore on her own during an early port stop. However, Amy's family knew she wouldn't have just wandered off without telling them. They insisted that something was wrong and pushed for a more thorough search of the ship. The search of the Rhapsody of the Seas was extensive, but it wasn't fast. Crew members scanned every deck, every room, every public area for any sign of Amy. Still, nothing turned up. By midday, the captain made an official announcement alerting all passengers to Amy's disappearance and asking for any information. But despite everyone's efforts, it was as if she had just vanished into thin air. Amy's family then tried to convince the captain to stop the boat until Amy had been found, as if the worst case scenario had happened and she had been kidnapped. She could then be smuggled off the ship when they'd eventually reached the port. The captain ignored their pleas and continued to drive the boat, allowing everyone off the ship. For the Bradley family, the idea that Amy might have gone overboard was unbearable. She was a strong swimmer and wouldn't have been careless around the water. Plus, Amy had left behind her shoes and her identification in her cabin, which raised even more questions. Could she have met someone who persuaded her to leave her cabin, or had she encountered someone with darker intentions? Well, Amy's family, desperate for answers, recalled several strange interactions she had with crew members during the trip. A few days before she vanished, Amy mentioned feeling uncomfortable around some of the crew. According to her family, she felt watched. One particular crew member had approached her several times, showing an unusual amount of interest in her. He reportedly invited her to go dancing at the club off the ship, which she turned down. Then, her family noticed something very worrying. On board the ship, there was an area where photos of passengers were displayed, pictures taken by the ship's photographers available for families to view and buy. But something was wrong. All the photos featuring Amy had vanished. Her family couldn't help but wonder, had someone intentionally removed her pictures? If so, who would do such a thing and why? And as time passed,
did they
some
question the
people claimed to have
photographers?
seen Amy, fueling the theories that she might still be alive. Several witnesses came forward saying that they had seen a woman matching Amy's description in the Caribbean. These sightings included accounts from a sailor and tourists who saw a woman resembling Amy with men who seemed to control her. In one case, a Canadian tourist reported seeing a woman in a brothel in Barbados. The woman allegedly begged for help, saying she was in fact Amy and was not allowed to leave. These sightings gave Amy's family hope, but all of them led to dead ends when followed up by authorities. No concrete evidence was found, and the woman in the sightings was never confirmed to be Amy. The descriptions were often vague, vague, and some sightings happened in chaotic settings. Still, for the Bradleys, each new sighting brought a glimmer of hope, which is also connected to perhaps the most disturbing theory of all, being that Amy had been abducted and sold into human trafficking. The idea was bolstered years later when a chilling piece of evidence emerged as a photo of a woman resembling Amy was found on an adult website. The woman in the photo had a similar tattoo to Amy, and her appearance is undeniably similar considering that she would be several years older.
Yeah.
Amy's parents saw the photo and were convinced it was her. They believed the image was proof that Amy was alive, trapped in a terrifying situation from which she couldn't escape. Investigators found evidence of human trafficking rings operating within the Caribbean, and a young woman like Amy, traveling alone at night on the ship, could have been a target. Her family began to suspect that if someone had lured her, they might have forced her off the ship in one of the island ports and into a dark underground network. Either way, until this day, Amy Lynn Bradley is still missing 26 years later.
Jesus.
No matter where you're headed,
oh my
get a
gosh.
trip safety check at Les Schwab Tires.
Dude, this is fucking insane. I don't have any theories for any of these stories, dude. I'm just making shit up.
For 150 lag-free real-time voice changers and unlimited soundboard.
Kenny Veach was no ordinary hiker. Kenny was the kind of person who thrived on adventure. He had been hiking for years.
Oh, this is gonna be some spirit shit. So yeah, no, he's one with the spirits now.
Tackling some of the hardest trails in the southwest United States. Friends described him as fearless and intensely curious.
He got lost in a
which
cave.
perhaps is what eventually led to his unfortunate.
Yeah, you're cooked, buddy.
He documented one of his hikes on YouTube, where he'd gained a small viewer base and talked about some of his findings in the endless stretches of the Mojave Desert. There were abandoned mines, strange caves, and even government training grounds all around the place. Kenny's viewers became captivated by his discoveries, eagerly awaiting another upload. And for Kenny, their excitement seemed to fuel his own. Despite the dangers, Kenny found a sense of freedom in these remote places, but he also knew the risks. A simple slip on a rock, a broken bone, or getting lost without cell reception could mean life or death. Yet Kenny believed the rewards were worth the risk. Kenny once shared that he had a habit of exploring alone, even when people warned him against it. Hiking alone in a desert like the Mojave was not something that most would consider, but Kenny saw it differently. He believed that hiking alone sharpened his senses, and it forced him to be more aware of his surroundings. Without the distractions of company, he could listen to the desert and focus on the details he might otherwise overlook. His viewers, and also he probably knew, that each time he went out there alone, he was taking a chance. But it was a chance he seemed willing to take again and again. But there was one discovery that would change everything. It wasn't just another rocky canyon or long abandoned mine, it was something different.
And I'm looking for a cave that I found, and I didn't have a sidearm when I was here before, and something about that cave just spooked me. Out of all the caves I've ever gone in, this one just made my body vibrate. The closer I got to it, the crazier my body felt, and I was like, all right, I'm not gonna go in there right now, but I'm coming back someday. So hopefully I'll find it. It's shaped like a big M. It's a big cave that looks just like a gigantic M, and it's about as tall as I am and kind of narrow. And it's stuck on the side of a mountain, so I hope I can find it again.
His viewers began to speculate about what might have caused such a strange reaction. Some thought it was natural, maybe an odd geological feature, or maybe a minor earthquake. And obviously others immediately believed there was something more mysterious at play, like secret military experiments or something supernatural.
Yeah, like maybe he saw something he wasn't supposed to see and they just took him out.
Kenny read through all the comments, and it was clear that the mystery of the M-shaped cave had captured the minds of many. People were sending him messages, pushing him to return to the desert and explore the cave. It wasn't like him just to back down from a challenge, and the encouragement from his viewers made it harder for him to ignore the mystery. But he was also cautious. He knew that returning to such a remote location was risky, especially with the strange sensation he had felt. Was it really worth the danger? Despite the fear of the unknown, Kenny decided he couldn't let this mystery go. He wanted answers just as much as his audience did, maybe even more. And soon, he announced his plans to go back, determined to find out once and for all what was inside that cave. Kenny prepared carefully for this trip, aware of the dangers that awaited him in the desert. Even for an experienced hiker like him, the Mojave held countless risks. This wasn't just a quick day hike. The remote location of the cave meant that he'd have to navigate miles of rugged terrain with limited supplies and no phone reception. In case anything went wrong, Kenny let his girlfriend and a few close friends know where he'd be heading. This way they'd have an idea of his location if he didn't come back. Then, days passed, and no one heard from Kenny. At first, his friends and family assumed he was still exploring, caught up in the thrill of adventure. But as more time went by, their worry grew. Kenny's girlfriend reported him missing, and a search operation was launched as teams of rescue workers scoured the Mojave Desert, covering every trail and checking every canyon. They looked for signs of his presence, hoping to find any clue about where he might have gone. During the search, they discovered Kenny's phone lying on the ground near an abandoned mine shaft. This was miles from any marked trail and deep within the desert. The phone had no interesting messages, no final recordings, no indication of what might have happened to him. It was as if he had left it on purpose or had dropped it by accident before going further into the wilderness. I mean, why would he leave it behind? Despite extensive search efforts, no other trace of Kenny was ever found. The team searched for weeks, covering the surrounding area and examining any possible routes he might have taken. But the desert is vast, and its rocky, uneven terrain makes it difficult to find someone.
Yeah, I think he saw something he wasn't supposed to, and then they just took him out. And the phone was placed there as a misdirect.
Especially in the remote areas where Kenny was known to explore. With no further evidence and no sign of Kenny, the search was eventually called off, leaving his friends, family, and YouTube viewers with more questions than answers. The M-shaped cave quickly became the focal point of every theory as to what might have happened, as the cave itself was never located either. People have found caves that could be the M-shaped one, but nothing solid, and no one has ever experienced the same intense vibrations Kenny did. The mystery surrounding Kenny has built up a sort of community of amateur investigators and internet detectives. One of their many theories involves Kenny's sister Debbie Veach. Now Debbie runs a little Reiki studio and shop, and in 2018 it was burgled. A man, unidentified, broke in through a glass window with a crowbar, stealing an iPad and other small items. Many people who like investigating the mystery of Kenny are absolutely convinced that this was him based off of the security footage. Debbie has never even implied it's Kenny, but still, people are clearly desperate to find out what happened to him. To this day, Kenny's case remains unsolved.
Oh my gosh, this guy's making fucking bank off me right now. Hurry up!
Relisha Rudd was only 8 years old when she disappeared from Washington, D.C., leaving a trail of unanswered questions and unsettling mysteries behind. Born on October 29th, 2005, Relisha lived a far from easy life. Relisha's family struggled financially, and she spent most of her early years moving between unstable housing situations. Relisha and her family eventually found a place to stay at a shelter known as the General Family Shelter. While it provided a roof over their heads, it was a difficult environment for any child. The shelter housed hundreds of families and individuals experiencing homelessness, and the facility was crowded and sometimes chaotic. For Relisha, the shelter was both her home and her playground, though it was far from the safe, nurturing environment that every child deserves. Despite these hardships, Relisha's teachers and people who knew her described her as friendly and full of curiosity. They noted how she loved school and seemed to be happy there, finding some sense of stability and normalcy in the classroom. Her teacher noticed, though, that her attendance was irregular. Days turned into weeks, and when Relisha stopped coming to school altogether, people started to worry. At first, no one knew what to think. Relisha's absence was unusual, but not completely shocking. Living in the shelter meant that her life was unpredictable, and unfortunately, it wasn't uncommon for children in similar situations to miss days of school. School officials made phone calls and reached out to her family when her mother, Shamika Young, was contacted. She claimed that Relisha was in the care of a doctor and was being treated for a health issue. She even provided the name of the doctor, Dr. Tatum. Relieved, the school trusted Shamika's explanation and didn't press her any further. They had no reason to doubt her words, but this decision would soon reveal its terrifying consequences. It was the 1st of March 2014 when the authorities were finally contacted. School officials decided to look into Relisha's absence once more and discovered something that made them uneasy. The Dr. Tatum that Relisha's mother had referred to wasn't a doctor at all. He was Khalil Tatum, a janitor at the shelter where Relisha's family lived. The unexpected twist raised alarm bells for everyone involved. involved. Though Khalil wasn't just a stranger to Relish's family, he was someone who had developed a close, almost unsettling relationship with her. Shelter staff and other families noticed how Tatum spent time with Relisha, buying her gifts, taking her on outings, and providing her with things that perhaps her family couldn't afford. People close to the family obviously saw these gestures as unusual, but no one could have guessed what would come next. Tatum had an extensive criminal history that included burglary and larceny. He was hired despite concerns raised by some about the shelter's lack of proper background checks. The shelter's staffing shortage and high demand for support made it difficult to screen employees thoroughly. Tatum's role brought him into frequent contact with Relisha and her family, and he gradually became a trusted figure in their lives. Relisha's mother, Shamika, accepted these gestures, even allowing Relisha to spend unsupervised time with him. Once police began investigating, they uncovered disturbing details about Tatum's behavior. Surveillance footage later revealed that Tatum had taken Relisha to a Holiday Inn Express in Northeast Washington on March 1st, making it the last known sighting of the young girl. Tatum's actions following that day became even more suspicious. He was spotted purchasing a shovel, lime, a chemical.
Okay, so we know it's him. What
used to stop the smell of a rotting corpse, as well as large trash bags, items that suggested he might have intended to cover up a crime. Then, something very unexpected happened. As the investigation intensified, authorities discovered that Khalil Tatum's wife, Andrea, was found dead in a hotel room from a gunshot wound. This development only deepened the urgency of the search for Relisha, and it became clear that Dr. Tatum was even more dangerous than the police thought. Law enforcement began a nationwide search for Tatum. Meanwhile, the behavior of Relisha's mother, Shamika, was starting to make less and less sense. When the school first notified Shamika that Relisha wasn't attending anymore, Shamika did not immediately notify the police or the shelter staff, a delay that severely impacted the investigation, and Shamika's general response was slow and at times evasive. When asked by the police and child welfare authorities about her daughter's last known whereabouts, she provided limited information, and her answers often lacked urgency. It could be possible that Shamika might have feared getting into trouble herself, as she was aware of Tatum's involvement with her daughter and the potential legal implications of neglect. Authorities investigating the case became increasingly frustrated with Shamika's lack of cooperation. Although she eventually acknowledged that Tatum had been taking care of Relisha, she continued to give inconsistent statements about why she allowed her daughter to spend so much time with him. Her explanations were often contradictory, shifting between trusting Tatum as a caring figure and being unaware of the danger her daughter faced. Shamika's behavior either suggested a stupidly high level of trust in a stranger or a complete failure to recognize the risks associated with allowing her daughter to be in Tatum's care. And on April 1st, 2014, likely the worst case scenario had happened. Khalil Tatum was found to have taken his own life in a shed in Kenilworth Park, which was an area that had already been searched for Relisha. Tatum was the last person seen with Relisha, so when he died, he took many of the answers with him. His death left police scrambling for leads, but despite searches and tips, now they weren't even certain if Relisha was alive, alone, or had been given to someone else. Purely speculating, I think it's possible that Tatum may have had a less than legal relationship with Relisha and may have been exploiting her with Shamika's permission. Perhaps Tatum's wife Andrea found out, and that was the motive behind her unfortunate death, though the true motive behind Relisha Rudd's disappearance will likely never be known. And that concludes today's video. If you want...
Dude, a lot of those, like, you knew who did it, but they just didn't get convicted because they either died or they didn't have enough evidence to convict them. That was a really good video. Holy shit. Those were some we had a few dark videos in there. That was pretty fucked up. Children serial killers and unsolved cases. All right, well, that's the end of the stream. We're gonna do another one tomorrow. I think we're doing Red Dead tomorrow. But that was a really good stream. We're gonna do another React video. I think not tomorrow, but the day after. I'm not sure what the theme's gonna be, but I do want to pick like a specific theme for the React video. But yeah, I'll be live tomorrow streaming probably Red Dead or Sea of Thieves, depending on who's on. But we'll see. Yeah, have a good day.